All right, how is it going, everyone? That should be us up and live. Glad to have you, Steve. Glad to have you here to point out all my many flaws. Uh, smooth as fuck, as always. As you might expect. Let's just fix that shit up as well. Lovely stuff. Did you finally got to catch you live? Hell yeah! Well, one of your lists has been submitted, so we'll be getting through that one. Good to have you here. Always nice to have people in chat. H. Matthew Howarth. Cleaning mold lines, same old, same old. I feel you. I've been working on one or two Orc Boys, you could say. Today I glued about 180 arms, which is good progress. Which didn't take as long as I thought. Now, cleaning the mold lines off the arms, that took a while. That took a while. Harry Houdini's here, so is Garrett. Good to have you both. Carmen Rider as well. How's it going? And Papa Wheelie, howdy howdy. This is a special one. So, this week, not only are we going to be doing the usual Fix My List shenanigans, where we fix your lists, we've got a special guest who'll be coming on in about 10 minutes or so. So that's fun. Daniel Mashford, first time I've caught you live, misses out and baby in bed already, painting a Brett Barron. Hell yeah! Sounds like a good evening. Nice and chill. Will Gunson, good to have you, Will. Matthew says the fur capes of the first gen Warriors of Chaos infantry, but essentially resculpting the whole neckline. Yeah, 100%. So I've been building a load of old world models, which I like doing. I like doing more than the modern Chaos models because you've got to be really precise getting in. But a lot of cleaning the mold lines off, anything that's sort of 15, 20 years old, is basically resculpting like where the arm or leg should be, which is, you know, fun for all of the family. Hell yeah. Thank you, that rat bastard. For those of you unaware, that rat bastard has had a little bit of a change of heart and is now more of a Wolves of the Sea player. Doing well with Wolves of the Sea. Went 2-1 at a recent RTT, which is cool. Really fun. Carmen Rider Ace. I'm working tomorrow, hopefully, but we'll stay till the end, hopefully. Hell yeah. Well, just hang around as long as you're able. Obviously, the joy of it being streamed is it'll be... you'll be able to catch up on it if you need to head off. Ian's here. How's it going, Ian? Evening all. Need a break from finishing up a Mortis engine. Fiddly thing that it is. Yeah, they do look fiddly. When I was really sold on the idea of doing like undead Bretonnians, I was thinking about using the front part of that, the Spectral Horsemen, and using those as my Pegasus Knights, which was going to be pretty ridiculously expensive. Sarundus is here. Hell yeah. Good to have you, Sarundus. Obviously here with a pretty fun list, actually, the Beastmen with Allies. So we've got 10 minutes until our guest. So you know what? Let's just start with one. Let's start with you. Since you've just popped up, Sarundus, I reckon we have a look at your list to get warmed up, and then we can get into it. So let's just have a quick look here. Oh, and as always, I should remember to say, please do like the video. Always helps get seen, picked up by the algorithm, all of that good stuff. Sweet peg build though. Yeah, it would be. They would be cool Pegasus Knights, but you're talking, I guess, for 3 models, you're talking like what, 40? How much is the Mortis engine? Maybe it's more expensive than I'm thinking. Probably comparable to a box of 3 Peg Knights, I would say. So. Callum says, I'm here, do mine. You know what you did. You know what you did. And you've been told. Handwritten lists, just to wind me up. Weirdly. Not super keen on that one. So, Sarundus. Beastmen with Warriors of Chaos allied contingent. Obviously, we don't normally see allies. Not something that we typically look at. But I think it's a fun angle to work from. So, we're going to have a look at that. £45-ish. Oh, that's not too bad. It's pretty comparable. So, we have got here a Beastmen list
with a level 4 caster and a Doom Ball, got the requisite core, got some Dragon Ogres, a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, an Exalted Sorcerer, and some Forsaken. So, I think the sort of constituent parts are not bad. You didn't, so given that this isn't it's got allies in. Typically allies aren't something you see at a tournament, so I'm assuming this isn't a tournament list and we're not trying to min-max it to be like, what is the most cutthroat? We're trying to build around the theme and the models that you've still got. Would you say that's the goal you're going for, Sarundus? I do need to make this the general, which is fine. There we go. Click that on. So what we've got here is we've got a Doom Ball with a great weapon, heavy armor shield, bedazzling helm, talisman of protection, and slug skin. So this is like about as tanky as you can get. You're not going to really threaten dragon, but it'll take a while to die to one. Exactly. Hell yeah, that works for me. So slug skin is really good. Often you see a character in a unit with the tanky character. This is a -1 to hit, obviously stacking with bedazzling helm. So your character's -2 to hit. It doesn't do anything against stomp, which is why you normally see it paired with a character that joins the unit, and then you typically see gnarled hide on this character here, but that's okay. It's not a problem, because you've only got one character here. It's the Doom Ball, who I believe is joining the Minotaur herd. So I think this loadout is pretty fine. I don't hate it at all. I also do like the shields to be added on there, just in case you decide that you really need to not die, so you can get down to a 3-up armor save. I do like that, along with your ward save. The Bray Shaman, you had either Dark Magic or Elementalism. Obviously gone for the Hagtree Fetish and the Razorgore Chariot. This is solid. It's a little squishy because you've put the Talisman of Protection on the Doom Ball. It's not the end of the world. I'd definitely be going Elementalism. Dark Magic is really sort of like, if you don't get either Word of Pain or Battle Lust, you kind of feel like you're missing out. Whereas Elementalism has got quite a lot of goodies in there. Plague of Rust is really solid, obviously. Earthen Ramparts is really good. You can cast it on yourself, given that you haven't got a ward save. So this is quite nice, just to make yourself a little bit tankier. Wind Blast is obviously great with the Hagtree Fetish. And then TMP. TMP on a chariot's just incredible mobility, so it's really nice to get if you do. Obviously, Dark Magic does have Infernal Gateway, which is kind of similar. In fact, it's very similar. But I think Elementalism overall is a better lore. Okay. So, no mutations on here, that's fine. I don't think there's anything that particularly needs to go in. You've got 20 gold with Ambush and Full Command. I think that's fine. I'm not sold that this unit's going to do all that much. I think it's a bit of a point sink, but if it's kind of a case of the models that you have, it's not the end of the world. I would probably, let me just make sure that you haven't put them on here. If you can, I would give them additional hand weapons. I think it's worth giving them the extra attacks. Even if it's just, you've got a mishmash of models that are equipped differently, just saying to your opponent, this unit has additional hand weapons. Because they hit reasonably hard for, a cheap chaff infantry unit. You've given them ambushes. I, as a rule, don't particularly love ambush, especially on a melee unit that only moves 4 inches. Oh, it's 5 inches, actually. It's a little bit faster. But it's not an awful thing to put on them. Comes in at 20 points for the unit. Yeah, it was meant to be, I think it's free. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, perfect. How did you put yours in? I think you may have physically typed your list, so stuff like that can be missed. No worries at all. I'd be tempted to drop the Standard Bearer here, because Standard Bearers give up points, and I don't know that this is going to win anything with the Standard anyway. You've got Open Order, you haven't got Close Order, so you're already kind of lacking in terms of the combat res. You haven't got Horde or anything like that, so you're sat at 3 combat res. So I'd be tempted to take off the Standard Bearer, just in terms of giving up less points. But we can come back to that one, see if it works out. You had a Tuskar Chariot, good stuff. 11 Warhounds split between 2 units. I think that's absolutely fine. And then you had the Minotaur herds. So this comes down to a little bit of personal preference. But Minotaurs have, Gore do have Horde. Have I just missed that? Oh, yeah, no, they do have Horde. Oh, okay. So I'll just take them up to 4 points. Although as soon as you take any casualties, you lose. Okay, sure. Let's leave that on then. That's not the end of the world. And obviously you put the Great Weapon on the True Horn as well, because it's free. So the Minotaurs, what you can do here is you can use Motley Crew to give them all a... I can't remember, is it a 2-up save or a 3-up save? I think it's a 2-up save you can get them to. No, it's a 3-up save. So They come with, the way that Motley Crew works is if you've got different armor values, you use the majority of them. So if you have 3 different armor saves in the unit, so you've got the unit champion with a 3-up save, one of them with a 5-up save, one of them with a 6-up save, they take the 3-up save overall. This is a little bit gamey. It does feel a little bit kind of pushing the envelope, but I would recommend doing that, and the way that you do it is you just put in a blackened plate. That's the easy way to do it, and that gets... so you drop one of the great weapons. You've got the Minotaur champion with shield and plate, so a 3-up save. You've got one with hand weapon shield for a 5-up save, and then one with just a great weapon. So you actually only need one great weapon there. Gnarled hide and shield. I don't think you can take the gnarled... Oh, you can take the gnarled hide. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. You've got the unit to a 2-up save. That's really solid. And then you'd probably just shave some points here. So you drop one of the Warhounds, and then honestly, you probably drop 2 of the Gore to get there. Dragon Ogre, I would definitely drop the Shartak. I think Dragon Ogres are obviously great, but they definitely want to have heavy armor, which you did have on there, I just didn't have marked, my bad. But the Shartak means you can be challenged out, so I'd probably not go with that and just go with the heavy armor here, so all of them get to make their attacks in a champion. You're not getting challenged out by characters. And then the Shaggoth. You said Tongue Ring to Spitfire, which is fun. What I would do, because this wants to be in combat, I would take this off, and I'd put it on the Exalted Sorcerer. I think that probably just makes a little bit more sense. I'd go Ruby Ring of Ruin here, and then let's also give them the Spell Familiar. So you've got 3 spells to roll in Battle Magic. Gives you more chance of getting those offensive spells. And that puts you very close to where you need to be. I think if you drop 1 Forsaken, that takes you to basically exactly what you need. And I think without changing the core of the list too much, this gives you just a more efficient version of what you were going for. I think this works pretty solidly. Does Motley Crew armor save like that work in close combat? 100%. Yeah, it works like that in melee and in shooting. In melee, it's only the fighting rank that matters. In shooting, it's against all of the unit. But because the unit's only 3 models wide, it doesn't matter. You just take the 3-up save. It doesn't apply to any characters that join it, though. That doesn't give you that boost. But if you don't want to play around with that, you can take, just tweak the Minotaur unit back to how it was. But I think you're going for a fluffier list as it is, so I'm just going to put this in, and I'd say that's a pretty solid version of the list there. Forsaken as well, you could go Slaanesh, but I think it's absolutely fine to go for the regular. Sounds great. Hell yeah, perfect. So let me just message my guest, because it's about 1 minute until I said that I'd be ready for him. Ugh. Excited for the Beast Journal. Love the army, but might have to hold out on buying them. Yeah, we need to see what's coming, eh? Minotaur Detachment. Looking forward to that. Looks like he's just currently going over some rules. Might take a couple of minutes until he's... Oh, there we are. He's ready. Hello there. How's it going? Okay. RTC connecting. Discord is doing a thing. I can see his chat saying that they can't hear me. Yeah. Discord joys. We can't hear you, guess. Yeah, they haven't connected yet. It's Hey! There we go. How you doing, bud? Not a problem at all. Hello there. Hello there. I am doing all right. I caught the start of your stream. I heard you were a little bit under the weather. Sorry to hear that. That's more than some people. Played multiple games, which is more than some people. So that's not bad. When I was getting started, I think I lost, like, I'm talking proper games, not playing against someone else who didn't know. I think out of my first sort of like 15 games, I probably won like 1. It took me a while to unlearn 40k brain and learn old world brain. But I should probably introduce you. And oh wait, hold on. They say still can't hear them. God damn it! There we go. I fixed the audio on my end. Despite being incredibly tech
Hello,
literate.
chat.
This is Hellstorm Mikey. You may know him because
Hello.
he's much bigger than me. So if you're watching me, chances are you're aware of other
Bro,
Warhammer
first collab
YouTubers.
when you're talking about my weight.
Mate, since I was made redundant at the end of last year, and I've been getting more active, but just this streamer lifestyle, you know, being at home all the time, it's not good for you, is it?
No, it's not great.
It's not great. But we're going to talk about some old world stuff, some how to build some Tomb King lists, because as I understand it, we have a mutual patron, and I don't mean the website. I mean more as in the old patron of the arts, Ginger Steve, who shines, smiles upon us graciously, and you're going to be going with him to the TSN Arena Teams, a 4-man team event at the end of April. So we need to build you a Tomb King list.
I need a Tomb King list, and I need to learn how to play properly.
Well, I can help with 1.5 of those, I reckon.
Excellent.
Old Worlds, as long as you're playing with obviously good intent, and you know, when rules come up where it's kind of 50-50, if you're more erring on the side of your opponent, you know, as with all Warhammer, people are really forgiving when you're like, oh, that's a weird interaction, I've never seen that before. They're like, yeah, me either. I think I learn something every time I play the game, and I've been playing far too much.
Well, I'm hopefully in safe hands. That's what I'm hoping for. So I've heard you're not too bad.
So
I'm in part of Team England. Mr. going to the WTC in September.
In September, yeah. I'm glad you said it because I didn't feel like I could say it. It's bragging when you say it, but when someone else, you can be like, "Oh no, I mean, it's a small game, you know. It doesn't mean anything."
There's like 7 people there.
No, 8. We're all on the team. Really looking forward to it. I wanted to get into international play when I got back into 40k after like a 9-10 year gap, whatever it was, and moving to Old World, I've definitely found my footing. And also, it is a bit of a smaller game, so it's an easier ramp in compared to some of the absolute killers I'd face week in, week out.
I'm not glazing again. However, the problem is with Old World is everybody who was good at it 20 years ago is playing again. So
that is true.
They kind of like what do you call it? Like Shark Tank, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Little shark. Kind of like they know everything, even though it's a new game. Kind of.
What I find is the people who played like 6th and 8th edition keep going, wait, hold on, that's not a rule, or that's not how this worked in 6th, which is fun. And I came in relatively unburdened by previous knowledge, and I just had to put the training weights on and losing almost all my games for the first sort of 4 months.
Nice.
But it was a fun experience. I didn't ask, how are you for time? Are you in a rush, or do we have time to tell some fun stories before we get started?
We got time. I'm all yours then.
Perfect. I think the story of how we met is a fun one, and I think it's worth.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah, no.
You just talk about the vibe home if you want.
Because it's great as well, because it only paints me in a stupid light. So
makes me look like a twat, but
no, I don't think so.
In a fun way. In a fun way.
We'll give the context. So, 2021. It was 2021, wasn't it? The first LGT post-COVID lockdown. It was my first proper event that I was going to. I'd gone to like a couple of Throne of Skulls and stuff, but I was aiming to get back into 40k, play it competitively, having a great time. I was playing Orc Buggies.
I Team England quote.
I was bringing Orc Buggies. I was having a good time. I'd ruined a lot of people's days, but you know,
it was terrible Orc Buggy time, wasn't it?
To be fair, it was the 3rd best list, but it was oppressive. If you were playing Space Marines, you were not going to have a good time into me, because I was like, oh, cool. So my profile is just like, I hit you on 4s, I wound you on 3s, you're down to a 5-up save. You're dead, you're dead. Can't even hide from me. Okay. So I do apologize for my sins. But so that year, it was terrible. There was so much traffic. It was really hot. You couldn't get petrol within like 100 miles of London. So actually traveling
because
down
it was like the petrol scare, weren't they? Because everyone was like, "Oh my god, they might run out of fuel," and people were like, "No, they won't." And then people were like, "You might run out of fuel. I'm going to buy some." And then because everyone was buying some, they're like, "We have actually run out of fuel now."
Yeah.
We are such a normal country.
It was nuts. So I think it took us like, I want to say 6.5 or 7 hours to get down from Nottingham, which is pretty nuts because I think it's like 3 hours if you drive inefficiently normally. So that was not ideal, but we got there.
Because I think the long and short of it was kind of like we'd met, chatted a little bit, and then you were like, I was like hanging out with people. You were like, I might hang out as well because my train's for like an hour. And I was like, where are you going? You're like, Nottingham. I was like, I'll just give you a lift. It'll be fine.
Oh no.
then,
there's lead up before then. This is getting back. So
okay. I didn't realize getting there was awful as well.
Yeah. Well, maybe you had a better time, but it was a slog to get there. So get there, Saturday, play a game. I think we were round 2 that we played, and this year at LGT there was no table space between the tables. It was grim, and I had a massive bit of like 2.
I think it was round 3, because I remember my first 2. I'm pretty sure it was like the last game of the day.
Oh yeah, it might have been round 3. I remember it was day 1. I think I might have won my first 2 and come in with a false sense of security.
I ran into this dickhead.
Well. So I had this massive bit of wood that I had magnetic strips on, and if anyone remembers the buggy list, it took up a lot of like space. So it was something like a 6 foot long. No, maybe it was a 4 foot long by 2 foot wide bit of board, and I had that on the table. So I'd had to move some terrain to get some stuff down. So we get talking, do my deployment, yada yada, and I've moved some deployment, and that matters later on down the line. But we're talking, and as you do, you're like, oh, where have you come from? And you're like, oh, Sheffield. I was like, oh, cool. I'm Nottingham. I'm not too far away from you. And I go, you know what? There's my mates have been trying to get me to go to these events, Hellstorm Wargaming. Have you ever been to one of those? And you just sort of stood there and looked at me, wearing a shirt that says Hellstorm on it. And I just remember you went, I am Hellstorm.
No, I'm Hellstorm Wargaming. Everyone in the room stood up one at a time.
Which
we were like Spartacus moment.
Yeah, I want to make clear, it did not feel egotistical at all. It felt very sort of like, are you okay, hun?
It's because I was wearing the t-shirt at the time.
I was fully locked in. I was just like, I'm here. I'm going to play some games. I'm just going to talk to someone. I'm going to have a good time. So that was great. And then we played a game. Realized that I'd moved the terrain, so I had to move the terrain back. But all my measuring that I'd done to stop you from deep striking in and destroying me was predicated on the fact that the terrain was where it shouldn't have been. And you pointed at my general, like, is he important? And I was like, yeah, if he dies, I'd probably lose the game. And then you did some measuring in, because I'd messed up where the terrain was. I'd left a big gap for you to deep strike in. Anyway, I got 12 points. And for record, for anyone who hasn't played 40k, you get 10 points for having painted models. So it's the worst I've ever been destroyed.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal, because I was like really worried about the match as well. I was like, oh god, I've got all the buggies to play against now, Jesus. And I was playing Space Marines at the time. I wasn't having a good time. And then it was just like, oh, there's at the back there. You were like, maybe, and I was like, let's just put a drop pod there to see what it looks like. And then I was like, yeah, okay, this is it now. Blow up the character, 2 planes come down, game's over.
That was 100%. It was very much like I'd played the matchup before, and I knew whoever got the alpha strike off was probably going to be all right. And then you went first, and I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I've got a chance. I've got loads of defensive stratagems and stuff I can layer. And then you're like, oh, if I kill that, what happens? And, oh, well, I lose the game, so...
Was it like a -1 to hit stratagem or something?
Yeah, there was a -1 to hit stratagem. I think I could.
You can't target characters, etc. And then I was like, but he's the closest now.
He is the closest now, yeah. And I could have given them all a 5 at ward, I think, by making my my custom force field bigger. There was a lot of stuff that I'd set up and measured very painstakingly that really didn't matter because I scuffed it. But yeah, good times. And then. And then
good 13 minutes of deployment and then about 20 minutes of game. It was fun.
To be fair, a good way to end day one, because you don't want to be hanging around.
Really.
You just want to sort of like not have to have your brain on for the third game if possible. But yeah,
No,
I remember
exactly.
you offered me a lift back in the direction, and I was like, oh, it's fine. I've got a train. And then the next day I came and found you. I was like, hey, am I still okay to grab a lift with you? After I thought about the reality of getting to the train station and everything. So that was
in the chaos.
that was fun. I can't remember who you had in the backseat, but we spent about 3 hours trying to write some bullshit list where we just spammed Eldar avatars. I remember that.
It was Josh, if you remember him. He was playing Eldar as well.
I do, yeah.
And then we were like, I'll just drive you back, it'll be fine. And then we got stuck on the M1 for what felt like 5 years.
It was pretty brutal. It was a long wait. But
long but enjoyable because of the company. It was enjoyable.
I really enjoyed it. I got to. No, I'll not say on stream. Never mind. No,
we had a great time.
Yeah, it was good. And then obviously did some casting with you for one of the Goonhammer days. That was fun. I played the Saturday, got my head caved in by Josh Roberts, and then I was like, cool, now is time to go and sit in a chair.
Does do that for me.
It was such a fun game. I really like Josh, and once he knew he was ahead, and I was just interested in learning the matchup, and I was like, I'm dropping tomorrow anyway. He was just like, okay, and this is what I'd have done different. That was a good time.
Sure.
Cool. But should we talk Old World then, I guess?
Yeah, so since then, you've gone into Old World. Are you sharing your screen with me, or should I just put your screen on my screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. So if I share screen, that's the one we're looking at there.
There we go.
Good stuff. So
do this, and I could do that. So I'm going to a team event with Mr. Ginger. That's his full name, Mr. Ginger. Last name Steve. With him, so I'm going to be playing Tomb Kings because they're the army that I have, but also they're my first love. Used to play Tomb Kings back in the day. Didn't know how to play Warhammer. Always used to play against High Elves. So it was always terrible.
Sure.
But I've got no idea what's good. I kind of well, I've got a really pretty dragon, so I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put some warriors in there, and then I'm going to put some other bits and bobs in there.
Hell yeah. So the way that the TSN Teams event works, if it's the same as the last one that you did last year, is that you can't share common magic items. And anyone who hasn't played Fantasy, if you look at the magic items that we've got here, you've got all of these common magic items that are shared between all of the armies. However, I've been told, Steve said, you can have pretty much whatever you want, but you can't have Lore Familiar, which is the one that lets you pick your spells instead of having to roll for them. So,
right, okay. That would be handy.
It would be. It is one of the things that Tomb Kings pretty heavily lean on, but that's fine because we can just go in a slightly different angle.
I'll just roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sorry about it.
So one of the things that you could have done is gone for a wizard on dragon, who then picks specific spells and flies around and tries to bot people with a magic staff. I don't know that that's the best course of action here, but you could go for 2 just lords on dragons if you wanted to. If you want to go full balls to the wall, that's definitely an option we've got.
That does sound pretty balls to the wall. And I've played an event with Double Dragon, and it did not go well because I kept like feeling like I was getting like flanked a lot. Because obviously that's the worst thing. It was that I was playing it at the time where I had one dragon with the Armor of Ages, I think it's called. Where you like re-roll successful wounds. I know that doesn't work against dragons. Doesn't work on dragons anymore. Really cringe. It's a great enhancement. I think it should be still in. So that I don't know if 2's the best idea, but 1 definitely. 1 is a big fat hammer. I love that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if we play with maybe 2. But I would err on the side of caution for that.
Yeah,
that would be balls to the wall. I just want to play for like 25 minutes. You know what I mean? I'm just going to throw these guys at my opponent's head and hope.
Monster Mash is a great way to do that. You need to learn less rules if all you're doing is straightforwards. Here's a bundle of stats. That's a solid way of doing things. So the Armor of Ages is still pretty good on the Tomb King. For anyone who doesn't play Old World, basically what happened was you've got this suit of light armor, and every time that someone wounds you successfully, you say to them, no, pick up the dice, re-roll those successful wounds. But
Mm.
you can't combo that while still using the dragon's better armor save. You can still use it, you just are limited to only that armor save, the light armor, which is a 6-up instead of a 4-up. But
Rubbish.
a lot of time
But
that's
it's
still
okay, 'cause
pretty
they got rid of
decent.
that Chaos Dragon shit there, didn't they, as well?
Yeah.
What's
So
the Chaos Dragon one? I can't remember.
so Chaos can be reroll all 6s to hit, which isn't even a magic item.
Yeah.
It's a 10-point enhancement that they can just get.
Of course.
Because reasonable things. But I reckon if we start off with the Armor of Ages, give you Talisman of Protection, and then a Biting Blade and a Shield. And what that does is it gives you a really tanky general who does only have a 5-up armor save, but they have to reroll all wounds against you, which is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, sure. So you're not taking that save very much, hopefully.
Yeah, or even if you're taking the save, a 5-up or a 4-up doesn't make too much difference. A lot of the time, AP2 is the sort of like, that's the default good AP that you're going to be seeing a lot of. So a 0 save or a 6-up save is kind of whatever. You've still got a 5-up ward and a 5-up regen, so you're still pretty protected from the Talisman protection. Steve in the chat says, put him a second in and 2 Necrosphinxes, which I think, we'll put in what you've got to start with. I think that's definitely a good direction to go in.
Okay. I wasn't sure if 2 dragons would be very good, but maybe if 2 dragons are good.
I have made my name by playing 2 dragons. That's been my strategy. Okay. I was playing bad armies.
I have 2 dragons, so.
Oh, you've got 2 dragons.
Yeah, I've got a priest on dragon and a king on dragon.
No worries. So... I believe as well, Steve is very willing to supply alternate models, so which I will be building. So there's plenty to.
Oh really?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
No dragons. I think we should go all infantry.
Oh no! There is a really interesting list you can do, which is because obviously there's arcane journals which give you Army of Infamies, which is kind of like your detachments. You can go Royal Host, I think it's called, or Royal Clans, whatever it's called. Basically, barely any casters, lots of infantry, lots of royalty, your Tomb King, your Tomb Prince. And you can do some bullshit where you take 130 models in one unit and they all have bows and they all have poison, so they just gun down one unit a turn and are basically impossible to interact with.
That sounds insane.
So that came up in an online league and everyone thought it was the end of the world, and then just no one's playing it since, I think because it's absolutely miserable to play on the tabletop. And it definitely has some counters, but yeah, that's one direction. If you wanted to make me suffer, you could go in, but please don't.
They still sound fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So you do need 1 unit of infantry. You said you got some warriors as well, didn't you? How many warriors have you got?
Yeah, I've got the starter box mostly painted, so I think I've got 40 warriors.
Okay.
So I've got plenty to play with. 40 warriors, 30 odd archers, and then some chariots as well. To hand.
Nice. Okay, sweet.
And then I'm a Warhammer player, Ed, so I've just got loads of bits knocking about, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. It's how it goes, isn't it? I've got a half-finished army sort of just lying around all over. I need to finish off. So I think if we're starting off, we've got the Tomb King, we've got some warriors. We can go back and tweak these. But I think we just cave to what Steve was saying and put double Necrosphinx in. Necrosphinx is obviously incredible.
Necrosphinx is so sick as well.
Yeah, they're just
cool.
a collection of not okay rules. 195 points might not feel cheap. I remember coming from 40k to Old World and looking at things and finding it hard to evaluate. So I'm like, 200 points. That must be really good. And then you kind of play a few games. You're like, I only roll like 4 dice for this model. So when it's got all of these extra things, you're like, this is not okay. So it's T6, which is about as high as toughness goes. It's 6 wounds, which is nuts for a single 200-point character. 5 attacks, one of them that's basically a cannon on the decapitating strike with, one.
Famously, I hate that attack. I don't know if you've heard.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
So for context, for both chats, because when the game first came out, I read the rule as what I would thought it would mean, because in 40k it's very clear what this means, and in the Old World it's very different. But it says it makes 1 additional attack with this weapon. So I was rolling 5 attacks it's got base, and then rolling the cannon attack on top. Or then I was like, well, you can just, nothing says you can't make all of your attacks with this. It just makes 1 additional with it. So I was like, okay, well, I can just roll 6 cannon attacks and that made so much sense in my head.
Yeah, so
And
I know you got a
those rules made sense.
you got a bit of shit for this, and I will say I actually completely understand where you're coming from on this because
Yeah,
this
but that's
does
because you played 40k.
yeah, but also to back you up a little bit more, it's the way that all of the other rules are written when you have to make a single attack. It says this model must make one attack with this weapon. This is, as far as I'm aware, the only model that's printed that says you may make one additional attack each turn with this weapon. There might be other ones as well that I've missed, but it's usually you have to take one attack with this weapon, which is a lot more clear. It has since been FAQ'd, so you can only make one attack.
Well, they FAQ'd it, but didn't update it. They just like kind of went, no, you can only make one attack, and it's like, why don't you just update the wording to be like, you can make one single attack with this weapon.
It's the classic sassy Games Workshop FAQ answers where it wasn't clear in the first place. But I'll be honest, the older I get, the more I appreciate those FAQs. I do read them and laugh to myself sometimes. But even without that,
I won't be doing that anyway. One attack with the cool attack, five with the other.
Absolutely. But they also come with stomp attacks, D3 plus 2 stomp attacks. Obviously, stomp attacks are really strong. They're strength 5, you're a behemoth, so you've got AP on your AP 2. So this is just a really efficient bundle of stats. And it flies, which is fly 9, really fast for undead. Undead generally can't march, so you're kind of limited to just moving 4 inches a turn. If you've got fly and you're undead, you can still march. So these things can just go 18 inches a turn without needing any sort of outside assistance, which is really nice to have.
I didn't realize they could march with fly.
It's one of those like hidden within. So if you've got fly X and you choose to move by flying,
unless they have fly, okay,
you can march as well.
Interesting. Cheeky.
It's one of the classics where old world, pretty much all the rules you want are there, but you better, good luck finding them. You need to go to page 274 of the rule book, and you're like, why is it under this section? Like, if you fly and you start your move in difficult terrain, you don't take a penalty. It's only if you end your move in the difficult terrain, and that's in the fly rule instead of the terrain rule. No. Anyway,
because I think that's a great thing. I think Old World is such a great rule set.
Yeah,
one, it. Trying to find the rule, it feels like a bit of a pain. But I think it's a great game. I just think that rule book could do with another 3 days of editing.
I would say so. I think it's the best first edition of any fantasy rule set we've ever had. But it definitely needs work. It's copy edited, I would say, poorly. But we don't play Warhammer for tight, well-written rules, otherwise we'd be playing chess. But they really capture the soul of how the game should feel, so that's good. And
sure.
I feel like when they come around to a second edition, hopefully they do like a 1.5 edition or something like that, and we get a tightening up of the rules instead of a complete rework. But yeah, so we've gone for double Necrosphinx because big dumb monster, go forwards, kill stuff. It's hard to go wrong with those. Yeah, absolutely. I think let's just put a second dragon in because a
king or dragon, the second one.
So one of the problems with the way this edition works is you start off with a toughness here, which is T5, and then when you buy a mount, it gives you plus stats. Dragon. Exactly.
Yeah.
+1 toughness. Now, if we have a quick look at what a high priest is only toughness 4, so your dragon's only T5. You could go for a high priest on dragon, and it wouldn't be wrong, but because you can't pick your spells, you can't go for the sort of illusion build where you go for spectral doppelganger, where you make 2d6 auto hits at with your weapon, which is a really fun build, but also if you're rolling your spells, just 1/3 of the time you don't get it, which would be very sad. So I think we just say fuck it, we ball and go double absolute brutal monster of a dragon. So if we went, for example, Bone Dragon here, and this one can't be anywhere near its defensive, so maybe we just go Ogre Blade, which is the best magic item, the best magic weapon in the game, I would say, arguably.
Yeah.
Or at least the common magic items. So you're going to hit like a truck, you'll be strength 7, AP 2, all of your attacks will do multiple wounds, which is really nice. And then we can't give you another ward save, so we're going to buy you the Shield of the Warrior True. 30 points gives you a 5 at ward save against shooting, which is fine. It's aggressively okay. It's better than nothing, but not as good as the talisman. But
Okay.
that still leaves you 98 points, and you do have to take some sort of wizard. So we're just going to put a level 2 mortuary priest in there because legally we have to. And also, it's still good to be able to pick from your own lore, the lore of Nakara. You're probably going to be taking Incantation of the Desert Winds, and you're going to be...
Yeah, that's the move again, right?
Exactly. Because you're only a level 2, a lot of the time you're only going to be getting the bottom level of it, where you pick a single unit to move. But if you've got a big sort of bunker of skeleton warriors, it's probably just going to be that one, realistically.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Ian says, cheeky little
And so
charm.
you can... Oh, go on.
No, you first.
I would say it's handy having the priest as well, because obviously they can heal the dragons as well, right? If they're nearby.
They absolutely
Heal.
can.
And it's only a single wound, but still.
Yeah. So there's a build where you can go very heavy on casters and keep things alive quite well. This is definitely going the opposite direction and starting with more stats and just being like, YOLO, we're going to run them over. But having that in your back pocket to just like add a couple of wounds back onto a dragon is really nice to have. So
Yeah.
we've gone for double Tomb King, double Necrosphinx, and we've got a big unit of Skeleton Warriors that you've got already. I think if we're going pressure, because we've got to fill up another 450 points, and most of that has to go into core. I think chariots are a not terrible thing to put in. Chariots are pretty underwhelming, but they're big base width. So when you're running your opponent down, you can make it hard for them to outmaneuver you, because you just go, well, where are you going to go? I'm literally taking up the space.
Yeah, because this is going to be like 5 big bricks of stuff, right?
Yeah, you're just going to be, basically the
Quiet.
the Vegas croupier, all in, just push them along with a stick, just full send everything forwards. It's I think a really solid strategy.
I love it.
In teams, it's probably got a lot of legs. You just get your team to put you into whatever stands up to that the least, and you absolutely wreck face.
Sure. Okay.
So chariots are solid. What you can do with the skeleton chariots is you can give them something called... The problem with this is they all have different names, and I keep forgetting which one's which. I think it's the Icon of Rakan.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this lets you make a free reform at any point during its movement. Now, this is a very good item. It also makes playing them incredibly more complex. So I'm going to say let's not bother doing that, just for the sake of not having to...
I don't mind complex as long as I understand it before the game rather than halfway through.
Yeah. So just to briefly talk about why it's complex. So this gives you, unless you're charging, any time you move, just any movement, you can make a single free reform. This includes an overrun. So you roll your overrun dice. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, we can leave that in.
Over in any direction you like.
Yeah,
okay.
It kind of is. I haven't played around with it yet, but a reform is literally just like around the center, so you can do some shenanigans with that. We'll leave that in,
Yeah, you just go, here's my chariots. I'm going to rundle into this unit, and then when you're half dead or like running away, I'm just going to turn around and go the other way again.
Yeah.
Why not? For 40 points, is this a real item? Are you sure?
It's very good. It's definitely something that's a little bit
insane.
Slept on. I'm gonna give a shout out to Anubis, who's been playing around with it from the German community. He's the one who put me onto it. It's there's some potential for shenanigans there. Definitely worth mentioning it to your opponent before the game. Otherwise, there's real potential for feels bads when you go, and I'm in combat with someone else now. Like, wait, what?
DK.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
That is brutal. All right, so we still need 138 points. So I think probably again something relatively beefy and something relatively wide base. You could go for another unit of chariots, or you could go sepulchral stalkers. This is they're the non-ridden,
the snake riders,
yeah,
right?
the ones without.
I know the normal ones.
Yeah, without the mount, they're just holding the halberds themselves.
Sure.
I think
Very cool unit.
Yeah, they're super cool models, and I think they're aggressively fine. And this is, if you go for the Sepulchral Stalkers, let's say you've got 3 of them, I think this is the unit that you probably cast your double move on, because it gives you reserve move. Chariots come with reserve move built in, which is one of the reasons they're really good. And the Skeleton Warriors, let's be honest, they're just a bunker for your wizard. They're just kind of trundling up the board. So
40 ablative wounds.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely.
Well, 40 plus revive.
Yeah, 40 plus revive, and it's only going to be D3 plus 2 a turn, but that's enough to be incredibly annoying, which is always where we want to be when we're playing undead. And that leaves
Do the stalkers still do that Medusa gaze thing?
Yes.
Petrifying gaze.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I don't know that it's good because normally undead shooting is really solid because they've got a rule called Arrows of Asf, where you never take penalties. You always hit on your ballistic skill, which, again, if you're playing 40k, you're like, yeah, of course they do. In Old World, we got modifiers like a motherfucker. Like, you think you're hitting on 4s? You've moved. You're firing at long range. You're firing at skirmishes. All of these things add up. So they don't have the rule that stops them from taking hit penalties. But sometimes you're just going to be within half range and you maybe don't need to move. And you're like, okay, cool. I've got a strength 2 that shoots against initiative, ignores all your armor saves, and it does multiple wounds. So dwarves are absolutely seething.
Yeah, sure. That's a cheeky one.
It's one of those that you don't take it for this, but you're like, oh, you know what? I've got this rule. Let's just, why not? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Cool. So we've got some beefy units to mostly just fill up the space, while your 2 dragons, 2 necrosphinxes do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Just have the best time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could put some other bits and pieces in, but I think the real star of the show for me, in terms of unbelievably undercosted monsters, we've got the Tomb Scorpion. I don't think we can fit 2 Tomb Scorpions in, which is a shame, because they are nuts for 70 points. They are a Movement 7 Swift Stride model, which means that they are surprisingly fast. They've got Vanguard, so they don't need to be, you move them before the game starts, so they're already getting towards where they need to go. And also, if you get lucky, you can just kill a dragon, because they have decapitating claws, which have Killing Blow and Monster Slayer.
Yeah. Okay, there it is.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, nice.
They should kill you before you get to swing. However, Old World's a game with not very much reliability built in, so there's a real world where you just...
You're rolling like 4 dice, right? If you roll 4 ones to hit.
Yeah, so like my elf with a great weapon tries to kill you. I only hit with 2 of them. I wound with 1. You're definitely swinging with swinging at me before I get a chance to dragon you. So there's some real risk in there. 5 points to give at ambushes. It's just a nice flexibility pick. Obviously,
is that such a deep strike?
Yeah. So ambushes is board edges only, but mortuary priests have From Beneath the Sands, Tomb King. Yeah, it's like a deep strike, but it's fully within 12 of your wizard and outside of 6 inches of enemy models. So it's just a nice little flexibility pick that you can just drop.
Yeah.
Something really annoying in front of your opponents, which
mini monster.
Exactly, yeah.
Enjoy.
The real reason you take the ambush, in my opinion, is if you want to be playing this sort of aggressive list, you want to be going first. In Old World, if you finish your deployment first, like you put your models down before your opponent does, you get +1 to the roll off to go first. So having the option to put something in ambush, which doesn't take up like one of the deployment slots, that is quite strong.
Okay, so they go into reserve before you start deploying, I guess.
Absolutely. We're going to put it on the Sepulchral Stalkers as well to give you the flexibility. I think a lot of the time you're going to deploy both of them, realistically, but just having that flexibility for 11 points between the 2 units is really, really solid. And that puts us at 24 points under the maximum, so we're kind of just balling out here. We could...
I would say we're a bit stuck for another Scorpion, aren't we, here, unless we drop the Dragon down, but that's...
Yeah, so the Tomb King, we could lose the Ogre Blade and go cheaper. I think we'd really struggle to get the full 70-odd points to get another Tomb Scorpion. You'd have to make some aggressive cuts. In fact, let's just sort of map it out and see what it...
Yeah, you'd have to reduce the skeletons to minimum.
Yeah.
And then... how many points are they with the ambushes? 75. We're not far away.
I think we can actually do it, yeah. So if
we're 2 points away, we can find this.
So we've dropped the core down to 34 skeleton warriors, because they're kind of just ablative wounds, points denial, that sort of...
They're not doing anything.
They're a bunker for the mortuary priests. They're not going to be interacted with most games, I reckon. So if we drop 6 of those, and then the Tomb King, if we drop the Shielded Warrior True down to a Charm Shield, which is a once per game 5-up ward. So you're definitely a bit squishier than you were, but you weren't getting that ward save in melee anyway, so I don't know that it matters. Then all we need to do is free up...
Does he need a shield for the Charm Shield? Or is it just...
No, so this is... He's not buying a normal shield. The magic shield is like a full all-in-one jobby.
Right, okay. So he's not upgrading it. We can drop that off and save his 2 points.
I think
Cool.
I've just clicked it on. It was off before, and then I've just clicked
Yeah.
it on like a muppet. But if we then
That's
just
right.
take the ambushes off the sepulchral stock, oh no, that puts us below.
No, we can't do that.
I guess we just take the ambushes
Yeah.
off the Tomb Scorpion, and we say, oh no, hold on, we can have one with ambushes and one without. There we go, 1997 points, and that gives you
All right.
6 monsters to run at your opponent, plus 3 chariots and 3 sepulchral stalkers.
This is my sort of list.
Yeah, this is
This
full
is
violence.
actually my sort of list, actually. Yeah, this is just, I have monster.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you.
Have
So-
dice will stomp. Stomps are really good, which is obviously something all monsters get, because you just take out
That's true.
the needing to hit. And Old World, again, comparing it to 40k for your chat, in 40k you've just got a number that you hit on. In Old World you compare weapon skills, and Undead don't have
It's old school.
great weapon skills, so you're going to be hitting on 4s a lot of the time.
Yeah, okay. Is there any way we can save that 2 points for the double ambush, or is that it? I don't know if there's any-
Maybe there is. Let's have a
Okay.
look. So the
Because
only
it's
problem
2 points. It's just everything's big bricks into it. So
Yeah, the problem with monsters is these are just like a straight 195 points, so there's no wiggle room on
Yeah,
tweaking them. Because we're at 500 cores, so we can't take anything out here.
Yeah.
This
it's
is.
dragon, right?
I mean, we don't necessarily have to go for the biting blade. You could just go for.
Yeah, but I also,
Flail.
I also, what's a biting blade do?
So it's strength user, so you're strength 5, AP -2, and then armor bane 1. So you'll be making 4 attacks at strength 5, AP 2, and any 6s are AP 3.
Sure. Okay.
Which is not super impressive, but it's more about keeping him alive compared to the other one who fucks.
Yeah, we've got like a hammer and anvil type approach for each dragon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of
Okay.
the
We don't need ambushes. I don't think we can save it, can we?
No, I think not without making the rest of the list worse, realistically. Steve says in my chat, I'm loving this reminding a 40k player the granularity of list building. That is the best thing about Old World, in my opinion. The list building is amazing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you guys play with like 2 points, and we have to play with like 150. It's like, oh,
That's
I can't
something
fit
I
anything in
hate
my
about
list
10.
because there's 70 points down
Yeah.
or something stupid.
You can't even drop to
Yeah.
like 8 models or something with it mattering. It's pretty grim.
Yeah, weird.
Lovely, but
Okay.
yeah, I think that's pretty solid. I think that's a list that you can put on the table with a moderate understanding of the game and have good results with.
Yeah, okay. So what law would you go with on the priest then? Would you go for elementalism or would you go for
Good
the
shout.
Nakar and undead ones?
So, because you're a level 2 and you're rolling your spells, you've got no reliability in there. So you're kind of just going, what's the best law across the board? Normally, what you'd do with a level 2 is you'd go, what's got the best signature spell, which is illusion, because they've got your unit is -1 to hit. But because you're going to take your own signature spell, the reserve move spell, you can't double up and take the law signature. I think I like elementalism the most. It's got some duds in it. Flaming Sword is one of the worst spells of all time. Takes some incredibly poor melee hits. Plague of Rust, just a great debuff, making your opponent -2 to their armor save. Earthen Ramparts, giving a unit a 5 up ward, and you can cast this on units that you're not in, so that's really solid. You know, just giving a Necrosphinx a 5 up ward. It does mean you can't charge, but you know, if you're moving up for 1 turn and you're trying not to get cannoned off the board, giving a big thing a ward save is really nice. Wind Blast is a decent spell, and then TMP, Travel Mystical Pathways, is really good. It lets you pick up a unit and move them. Callum points out elementalism is too high for level 2. That is true. The casting values are very high on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because we only got level 2, a little concern was, not being able to actually get the spells off.
I think the problem, what I'd say though, is
A lot of them feel quite high all over.
yeah, all 3 of these laws are pretty high spell values. So Necromancy, we're looking at the good stuff. We've got 8 on the Magic Missile, which is not bad. Spectral Vortex on 11, you're never casting that. Curse of Years on a 10. I think realistically they're all going to be equally as difficult to do anything. Mostly this is just here to give you a legal list and also give you the chance of getting the reserve move. Yeah, like if you could take Battle Magic, that would be the go-to, but unfortunately you only get all of the other good things that Undead get. So I guess you've got to, miss out on one thing.
Yeah, sure. I was going to say, are we worried about the fact that we've only got a level 2? Because a lot of people have been running level 4s, right? And if I've only got level 2, will I be able to deny them very well with just level 2?
Yeah, level 4s are the way to go. They definitely are the way to go. And I think it would be better to have a level 4 wizard. But because you can't pick your spells, I feel like a Tomb King wizard on Dragon is just... You're kind of making the whole list worse to shore up one of your weaknesses. So I think what I would say is, because it's more of a teams list...
Just go smash.
Yeah, like, there's probably, out of the 4 armies, one of them you're going to be really worried about the spell casting. If they've got an illusion caster, that's because illusion can stop you from charging, they can put Column of Crystal in front of you so you can't see anything, all of these good things. So you can... If you just don't go into that army, sure, if they've got a wizard who knows, like, 5 magic missiles, that's an exaggeration, but, like, they go do loads of magic damage, you go... I don't care. My entire army's T6. You're going to wound me on 6s. I'm just going to run at your face.
Yeah, sure, okay. And that's kind of like the benefit of list writing for teams versus singles, right? Because in singles, you'd be like, I don't know what I could play against. Now, I don't know the old world meta, but you could play against high elves.
Yeah.
Famously very good at casting. But like in a teams event, you'd hope you wouldn't have to. And if you are, you're just trying to scrape points from them rather than trying to actually like win the game, as it were.
Yeah, it depends on your role.
Lose badly.
Yeah, so this army I've written with the intent of probably being one of the push armies, where you just go in and, like, realistically, depending on what your opponent is, you can probably table someone on turn 4. You've just got that sort of full pressure force. The armies that really want magic defense are the ones with, like, cheap like squishy skirmishes. So I play a lot of elves, and if you cast a fireball on a unit of 7 elves with T3 and no armor save, they're going to evaporate. If someone casts a fireball at you, you're like, I guess I'll heal back those 4 skeletons next turn. And if I don't, it was 16 points. So I think you can get away with it. If you're playing singles, I definitely want a wizard in there. But because you can dodge the one army that's going to have an illusion caster and just stop you from doing your thing, I think you're going to be okay to not play around with magic.
Okay. So, without giving me every battle plan for every game ever, what would your initial plans be, like general tactics with this list? Would it just be put everything on the front line and hope you go first, or would you like play some units more reservedly? Obviously, the skeleton warriors and mortuary priests is kind of a given.
Yeah.
But like, how would you like? Would you just like send the dragons in with the necrosphinx flanking them? Would you use the necrosphinx's flanks? What was your like rough idea of what would you do with this?
So this is very much a full send army, which is pretty much just like you're taking up the space and you're trying to stop them from getting around you. The main thing that you're going to want to do is set up overlapping charge arcs, because what you'll find is armies can either deal with dragons through whatever they're bringing, whether it's their own dragon or something like that, or a Bretonnian player who's bringing like a monster slaying duke, or they're playing an army that can get out of your charge arcs. You've got so many fast things that hit really hard that you can overlap your charge arcs and make sure that they can't get out of them. So I would say it literally is just a full send list. Make sure that you're playing around their charge ranges. So if you're playing against like a full cavalry army, for example, and they can charge 16 inches, you sit 16.1, you get a charge 19 inches or 18 inches. So you've got the advantage there. And and just sort of like play around the range, and then as soon as you hit the go turn, full send everyone in and smash.
Yeah, because I suppose the problem with this is if it's piecemealed, it'll kind of crumble quite quickly.
Yeah. If your general dies, you obviously do have the risk of having to take crumble tests, which is why we've made the Tomb King super tanky. So you've got to reroll all wounds against him, got a 5 up armor save, a 5 up ward, and a 5 up regen. So it's a lot of wounds to chip through. Outside of...
Would you keep him back? Would you play more reservedly with that one then, or would you just kind of go, just send him in, just YOLO.
Send it, yeah.
Here he is.
The only thing...
Because he's so tanky.
Yeah, he's got triple save, which is really hard to deal with on a T6 model, especially one that makes you re-roll all of your wounds against him.
Yeah, true.
The only thing that would worry me would be the Killing Blow, the Monster Slayer Baron, but you also make him re-roll successful wounds. So they've got to they've got to roll a wound into a 6 to actually have a chance of killing you. So you've got less worry about that.
Sure. Okay. So, as someone's pointed out, it's the priest who dies.
It is,
when the army crumbles. It might not be the Tomb King, but still.
Yeah.
If he's getting got and I've got double, like triple dragon, well, essentially quad dragon in their face,
Yeah.
you know, with the Necrosphinxes, I think they've outplayed me really well.
Yeah. But also, because that is a good point. It is if the Mortuary Priest dies, because that's your Hierophant. If the Tomb King is alive, it's giving an 18-inch bubble of Leadership 10. And the way a crumble test works is you take a Leadership test. For each point you fail, you lose a wound. If you're making loads of Leadership 10 leadership tests, you're probably not losing any or many wounds, unless you get really lucky.
Sure.
So you're probably okay there. Ian brings up as well terror bombs. Your entire army causes fear, and all of the good stuff causes terror. So not only do they have to deal with that, they might just run away from you, which is like winning a combat, but way easier.
Yeah. And then maybe you utilizing the chariot's absolute bullshit icon to just play around with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. I wasn't sure about Double Dragon, but then I think you've really sold it to me.
Nice.
You know?
I think one of the... And people are probably going to give me shit for this opinion because people don't love playing against dragons. It's not like a taboo, but, you know, people are like, dragons are too good. I'd rather not have to play against them all the time. I think one of the most fun things you can do is push 4 flying monsters forwards on the board and just be like, I see you've brought a melee infantry army, Mr. Bond. My Tomb King is up your ass, Mr. Bond. Checkmate. It's a real
because there's a lot of discussion of playing, what was it, like 1999 +1 tournaments, because then you can only take, like, or we're trying to limit how many dragons you can take in a 2K game, right?
Yeah. So
that was a lot of discussion. I presume a lot of that died down.
Yeah, we're in the midst of discussions about whether comp's a thing. There has been rumours flying around of an FAQ coming that will make infantry great again, which might come at some point in the not-so-distant future. But, you know, remains to be seen. We'll have to see how that one goes. But I'm feeling like Games Workshop are actively supporting the game, so I don't feel like it needs to be community managed at least.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay. So, right, Ed, this has been really helpful because I had like it might have been 2 dragons, but it would have been a priest probably, just because it's pretty. But I think this has been like super duper helpful.
Perfect. Well,
have you got any
coming on.
Final advice? Before I go.
Yeah, roll good, don't roll bad.
Beast. I can do that.
There's
only 4 dice, bro.
my actual advice would be the charge that looks long, it's not as long as you think it is because of obviously the way Swift Stride works. Because your maximum charge range is 18 inches, you're like, but I can actually go 21 inches. So just YOLO, just make the long range charges. You know, if you fail them, you might lose the game, but just don't fail them.
Beast. Okay, mate.
Perfect.
Oh, wicked. Well, thank you for coaching me. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you for having on your channel and hanging out.
Yeah, you too.
Congrats on 4K subscribers. You're at 399 earlier, I noticed.
Oh, is it ticked over?
You made it to 4K. You have. Yeah, congratulations. So everyone should celebrate with a little super chat or a member in chat. That's what I think. In your chat, not mine.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's always nice to have someone else shill for me so I don't have to do it myself. And if you're watching Mikey, obviously, I mean, Mikey does a great job of self-promotion. One of the best, some would say. And avant-garde. I'm kind of spiraling here, losing the words. But yeah, obviously, if you're watching in Mikey's chat, give him money as well.
Yeah, and go and give Close Order a sub. He's linked in the pinned comment, so it's very easy, 2 clicks. And everyone over there, hope you have a lovely time. I'll leave you to it. What are you doing now? What's your plan for the rest of the stream?
So every other Friday, I do a Fix My List stream. So we go through members submit on the Discord, and I go through and give suggestions on how to fix the list. And it's not just sort of make the list go from bad to good. It's here's the theme that I want to play with, and how do I make that the best version of the theme?
Nice. And for me, you started from the bottom because I had nothing.
This was a pretty easy one to do. I had Monster Mash in mind. It's a fun one.
You were like, he's having Double Dragon.
Yeah.
He's not having anything else. Excellent. Right, mate. I'll leave you to it. Thanks again. Appreciate you. And I'll catch you later. Yeah.
Talk to you later, buddy. In a bit.
Appreciate it. Bye.
That was fun. I wasn't really reading chat much there, so apologies for not keeping up. But that was a lot of fun to go with. Obviously, building a list with Mikey. Looking forward to seeing how that goes on the tabletop. We'll have to keep up with that one. So listen, Any Renegade lists tonight? Yes, there will be. I think there's one Renegade list. There's a Demons of Chaos list that we'll get to. And we should probably start getting through those. Steve says, thanks, Ed. No, thank you for facilitating that. Obviously, I have talked to Mikey a fair few times, but actually lining up a bit of collab content was all you, buddy. So appreciate that. Okay. Let's get to it, because we're now an hour in, and we've got about 11 more lists to get through, so let's do that. Anyone here that wants to have their list looked at first? Obviously, always good to talk about people's lists who are here in the chat. Do shout up if you're here and you want to go with. If not, I can see Jaju, if I'm saying that name correctly, and we can have a look at his Exiles list. Carmen Rider Ace. Carmen, I'm sorry, I've forgotten what your username is. Remind me. Damien, hell yeah. Okay, we'll start with Damien. We'll go to you, Juju, just because that's the order that people asked in the chat. So, you've got the Grand Army High Elves list. I remember this one. I was having a look at it. So, if we just have a quick look at, in the Fix My List channel, was there any disclaimer to go with this one? I feel like there was a little bit of text to go with this one. What have we got here? Would love some fine-tuning before I really cement and paint this all, and I like the idea of Tyrannox. They feel very Avalon, which is the army theme. Pointing out that I got it wrong in my video. Originally had a Horn Maiden in the list for the Sea Guard to give them a 1-turn boost, but ended up dropping for other stuff. I don't want to go full Sinister's Core. Interested to see what you come up with. Hell yeah. So, Flatworld Sedge, yeah, we can do yours third. Lovely stuff. So, this list, you've gone for a core of Sea Guard, and then you've got the Tyrannox Chariots, 4 Bolt Throwers, Sisters of Avalon, 2 units of Archers in here as well, just to fill out, and a good old Dragon Prince as well. I think this is a solid core. I think without making too many changes, we can definitely make some tweaks. So I would say, personally, for me, I think if you're taking this many Lothan Sea Guard, you'd really benefit from having a Shire Vess, because a Shire Vess has a rule that gives Sea Guard AP1 on all of their attacks. So this is their shooting, this is their melee as well. Now, Sea Guard, they're decent. They've got warbows, they're going to volley fire, they're going to stand and shoot, all of that good stuff. And then they've got, spears with +1 AP. They're not, like, the killiest unit, but I think for core, they're not bad at all. I do quite like them. She has 170 points. That is true. So you definitely feel like you're putting some investment into them. But I think it's worth doing. Triple Tyrannox Chariots, I don't necessarily rate them, but if you want to put them in, I don't think there's an issue with them. I think you can have them as a mobile, harassing little unit. Obviously, Open Order, really solid there. They've got quick shot just baked in. They've got longbows, cavalry spears, some impact hits as well. I think it's D6, yeah, D6 impact hits each. So they're a pretty decent light unit hunter. So you can get around the flanks and deal with those as well. You've got 4 bolt throwers. Now, I'm going to take one of these out. Most places run rule of 3. It sounds like you're in the process of putting them together. I don't know if you've got like a local play group that plays a lot, but I would say if you run 3 of them, no matter where you play, you're going to be okay with finding a game, basically. And the only other thing we need to do here is to shave off some points so you can fit in the buffing character. So here, I think, let's get down to closer to 500 points, which would put you 5 points under. 3 bolt throwers make sense. Happy with that? Yeah. I think they have problems. So they are ballistic skill 4, which means they're realistically going to be hitting on 4s a lot of the game. And they are only T6, which is low for war machines, and they've only got 2 wounds. So they do kind of fall over pretty quickly. They can be shot off. But they're also still, like a cheapish war machine. That's not too bad. So let's just go here. How do we fix this so it's the right number of points? Maybe we just go give one of these a sentinel. That's probably the cheapest way of doing it to get to that exact 500 points. Still need to shave off 65. Here you've gone for Lore Familiar, Ruby Ring of Ruin, Sea Guard, Battle Magic. So this is just kind of like a bunker for your wizard who's going to go in with the Sea Guard and do some shooting, right? I kind of feel like for Battle Magic, you can definitely get away with shaving some points and going for Silvery Wand. Lore Familiar is good, and, maybe you just want to pick your spells every game, but if you're rolling 5 out of 6 spells, you're usually getting the ones that you want. And it does shave you a few points as well, which is what we're looking to do here. We're still 50 points over. How do we get there? Just a little baby mage, yeah. I mean, it's still one of the best level 4s in the game, so shouldn't complain too much. I'll be honest, I'm underwhelmed by the Bow of the Seafarer. We could just drop that and put it, you know, that takes us to exactly where we need to be. Here's the thing. This is kind of a fun weapon to shoot, right? Because you're going to be doing a decent chunk of range damage when it connects. So maybe we just leave that one on for now and see if there's anything else we can do. I actually don't know how we can shave 50 points here, because I think we could make some cuts on the Prince, who... Talisman of Protection, like, so this is giving you a 2-up armor save all the time. I think, honestly, for a dragon, if you've got a 5-up ward save, a 5-up regen, and a single-use 2-up ward, you don't need the super good save all the time. Sam says, goodness, it's Friday, time doth fly. It is Friday, it does fly, doesn't it? My week has felt very short, I will say. So, one of the options we could do here is we could drop the Biting Blade and give you a Great Weapon or a Lance. I personally prefer Great Weapon on Elves, I think they're really solid. But that only saves you 11 points. I think the problem is you've got 240 points in Bolt Throwers and 225 points in the Tyrannok Chariots, which are all... I think they're all fine. I think they're just a little suboptimal. So I'm struggling to squeeze in the additional juice here. I think maybe it is just that you drop the High Sister here. You want to bolt... Yeah, you know what? That's probably a good shout. And then you go 2 Bolt Throwers. That seems like it's maybe better than dropping... Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can get behind that. And then this here would probably go +1 model, give them Stubborn as well. Just... gives them a little bit of defense. Actually, I don't know that they need Stubborn on a small unit like this. You can probably just keep it as is. You could, if you've got 9, you could just add 2 Sisters of Avalon, and that bulks you out quite nicely. Or is there anything else that we want to put on? In fact, let's go back down to 8, and then let's give you the Lore Familiar as well, because we've cleared up the points. So I think it'd be a shame to just have a game where you don't get the spell that you want. Ian says the Bolt Throwers always miss anyway. Oh, Ian, for context, I did ask Ian if it was okay to tell this story, and I'm telling the story not to mock him, because I don't think there's really anything to mock. I just think it's really funny. So Ian has submitted to fix my list a couple of times, and I think, if I remember correctly, both times I've said that there are aspects of the list that I think, because Ian plays Dark Elves, that I think are probably too weak, and I wouldn't put in the list. And you know, specifically if we're talking about the witch elf and the death hag with the ogre blade, I'm not a fan of that at all. I think it's a waste of points personally. Ian was one of the players at the Team England WTC practice day that we did up in the northeast a couple of weeks ago. Really lovely guy. Really enjoyed playing against him, and also my round 1 opponent as well, who I am terrible with names. I'm really sorry, I've forgotten your name off the top of my head, but had 2 really good games. And because I felt like I knew Ian a little bit, because obviously he's been active in the chats. I think he's talked on Discord a few times. Well, he definitely has talked on Discord a few times. There was a bit of banter between us, and I'd told my captain that I was going to be pushing for a 20, and I think at one point I said to Ian, I was like, I'm gonna 20-0 you, not in a shitty way, but just sort of a bit of banter, and we got to the end of the game, and it was not long after we finished, and Ian just looked at me and was like, I think I'm going to change my list. So I said, this is the new service I'm going to run. If you submit the same list twice, and he did make tweaks between it, to be clear, but if you submit lists with inefficiencies twice, I'm going to play against you, and I'm going to make you change your mind by beating you. That's the game plan. Oh... I did say that. Yeah, I did say that. That's really bad. I'll be honest. That's what being back in the northeast, surrounded by that sort of those lads, has done to me. I do apologise for that one, but it was very funny. And to be clear again, I did check with Ian that it was okay me telling that story beforehand. I don't want to make it feel like I'm just ragging on him. But yeah, so Damien, I think this is a an improved version of the list that we had here. And your name was Damien on the Discord. Boom, there we go. It was fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a good time. Edward says, let's go, it's a list time. Yeah, you just missed 50 minutes or so of me building a list with Mikey from Hellstone Wargaming, and also some fun stories from that. But I'll probably put that up as a separate video, actually, over the weekend. Thanks for the direction. Hell yeah. I think this will be fun to play. This looks like a pretty solid balanced list. It's not super cutthroat, but you still got a dragon. You've got a reasonably efficient shooting unit in there as well. I think this is pretty solid. All right, so Jaju, you were number 2 on the list here, and I think this is going to be a difficult one to improve. I think you've got a really good list here. So, there were a couple of things that I would like to change, but I don't know how. You've gone for double bombard, double trebuchet, which I think is a really punishing list to play against. One of the strongest things that Exiles can do is make it so people have to come to you, because you've got such a strong reach out and touch ability with the Pegasus Knights. If you don't have to get through screening units or shooting, if you can play it safe and make them run towards you, you're in a really solid spot. And having the double, the 4 artillery and the wizard is really good at that. However, you've gone for illusion and lore familiar, so I'm assuming that you're going to be trying to cast Miasmic Mirage and also trying to cast Common Crystal. These are the spells that are important to pick up. I would really like to see a Power Scroll here, and the problem is Ruby Ring of Ruin is really strong for Exiles because you need something that can pick up the chaff. None of the rest of your army can really do that, but I just think the ability to stop the charge is really important. Let's have a look here. You're on a warhorse, so we could probably cut the warhorse. Or actually, no, you can be on the warhorse. I guess you're not going to join a unit. You're just going to be around the Knights of the Realm or something like that. The problem is it's really difficult to fit points in, because this leaves you with 10 points if you take out the Ruby Ring and put in a Power Scroll. I would like to also have Ruby Ring here. I just don't think there's a way of realistically doing it. And because we've got so many points tied up in units that can't be tweaked, this unit that can't realistically be tweaked because it's got the Vanguard and the Champion, I think I would just go give it a Musician. I think Musicians are really strong if you ever have to rally. Obviously, you don't want to run away, but just having that there is good. And also giving that ability to win a combat, just if it's tied, I think is really good. And having the Power Scroll, I think, is going to do you better in the hard matchups. I think it's going to make your life a little bit more difficult in the easier matchups, but I think you should probably win those already because you're playing one of the strongest lists in the game. So I think in this case, shoring up your weakness is probably a little bit stronger. And I think giving you a Musician on the Peg Knights and giving you a Power Scroll on the Illusion Caster is maybe a little bit better. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, I don't think there's anything else we could do. Probably don't want to drop the Lucky Heirlooms. These are both really efficiently loaded out. For anyone who plays Exiles, if you're watching this back, if you're looking for how to equip your characters, this is pretty much it. So you've got a Baron here. This is the General, who's got Royal Pegasus, Knightly Temper for the extra attacks, hatred, and extra attacks and hatred. And then you've got Frontier Axe, which is just the insanely efficient Ogre Blade equivalent. We've got the Falcon Horn and the Freemund, and we've got the Charmed Shield as well. All of that's really good stuff. You don't start with the Ward Save and Exiles, so Charmed Shield is a nice 5-point little buy. Then we've got this Baron here, who's got a Lance, gone for Virtue of Heroism for Killing Blow and Heroic Killing Blow, and then double Lucky Heirloom and Syrian's Locket. Syrian's Locket gives you immune to Killing Blow and multiple wounds, which means you can go into the Chaos Lord and not necessarily fall over immediately. And then the Lucky Heirloom is reroll a single failed hit or wound. So basically, it helps you fish for those killing blows. It's a really efficient way of doing it. So let's just copy this one here. Horn over Gromrel Greathelm. I think the Horn is just so good. Having the Gromrel Greathelm would be really nice as well, but it's just hard to justify cutting something else. With Exiles, if you're going for the double shooting, the double sets of War Machines, you're having to make cuts elsewhere, but I think this is about as lean as the list gets, and I don't think there's anything that you're super worried about losing there. You can't skip home, especially if you want to bunker. Yeah, I agree. Perfect. Samuel Joseph Wilson LaSalle says, hell of a name, like that. Hey, can I ask how the whole fix my list jazz works? I'm a recent enjoyer of your particular brand of cynical criticism, and beyond posting a list in the Discord, are there other parameters? The way that it works is every fortnight, every 2 weeks, I will unlock it on Thursday evening. Usually there's a Discord channel, so join the Discord if you haven't already. I will open it, I will ping at everyone, and you post your list below where I say, from this point, all lists we're going to be looking at. And then I'll normally say, cutoff is 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. GMT on the Friday. Give me time to actually put the lists into the list builders and all that good stuff. There's a priority system. Any channel members who haven't had their list looked at in the last 2 streams, then any non-channel members who haven't had their list looked at in the last 2 streams, and then after that it's channel members who have had their list seen and non-channel members. Basically just want to make it as open to everyone as possible, but still give people who do support the channel a little bit of a boost up in the rankings in terms of making sure that list gets seen. Okay. Oh, sorry, Jeju, I missed. He said maybe get more peasant bowmen for chaff clearing. You can do that. I'm super underwhelmed by peasant shooting. It's fine. I don't know that I'd skew more into it. I think the Yeoman Guard are just really efficient. This brick is really good points denial, and it's sludgy. It ties up enemy models really well. So it's hard to make changes to that, but I think this is a really solid version of the list. Okay, so we have Matthew Howarth, Flatwood Sedge. So there was a lot of text with this one, which is good. I do like writing and fixing lists that are under a specific parameter. So Flatworld had messaged me just to check that it was going to be all right to tweak a list, and absolutely, as I was saying to Mikey, we're about tweaking lists to a specific build, and it's not like you don't have to be playing the most efficient. It's just we'll try and make your list as good as possible. One of the reasons it's really nice to have people here, so that so I can ask questions if people don't ask, post too much in Discord. Edward says, are there any rules about list submission format, or can I submit in whatever way I have my list? I'm not going to throw my rattle out the pram with people submitting it in weird ways, but I know you're specifically asking to be a dick. If you submit the JSON file that you can find in here, if you go to export down at the bottom, download as .owb.json, and then just post that in the Discord. That's easiest for me, because then I don't have to physically manually put it in, but I can manually do it myself, and I know you deliberately hand wrote one out to make my life difficult, so I don't appreciate that from you. Submit a photo of a written list in a notebook. A couple of people have been doing that. If that's how you genuinely write your lists, I'm not going to say don't do that, but if you don't write your list that way, then don't make my life harder. Edward says, I resent that. I'm helping people. I've teed you up to give the spot about the uploading. Edward is one of the members of the Discord who are in the VIP section, where they give me a lot of shit. So if you are also interested in engaging in the VIP section, you too can become a member at Longbeard tier above, and post in the needs role section of the channel, and I'll make sure that you're available to post in there. It is a lot of fun. I do enjoy being given shit by this lot. Raffit says, do a call-in show. Maybe something I should think about in the future. But let's get to Flatworld Sedge's list. So, this one is all hair metal. Totally appreciating it's not competitive on anything like normal rolling, but hoping for a list that feels like some sort of 1983 tour t-shirt from a Minnesota-based glam rock band called Sugarblade, or Unnatural Blonde, or Feline, and on those days the fates decide you can dry roll 10s for 3 hours, then you're hashtag taking names. And the name of the army was Avard's Black Metal album cover, obviously referring to Avard's Black Tentacles, I think it's called. What's the name of the spell? Avard's Black Horror, that's it. Previously named that in other versions of the list. Build a robot that does it for you. Yes, very good, very good. Okie dokie. So, we've got a list here which is all about the glam metal and the scantily clad women holding swords. That's the vibe that Flat World Edge is going for, which I respect. However, the way that we're doing it, we're going to make it better. So you've gone for 2 Supreme Sorceresses, 2 level 1 Sorceresses, and a Death Hag. And I think we can keep the core of the units the same, but we're just going to take some of the extraneous stuff out, keep the other stuff in, and just give them more, basically. Ian, yeah, you do see a Death Hag and Witch Elves. Now, I don't think they're super competitive, but within the confines of this list, they're perfect. So, you've got a lot of 5s. I don't love min units of 5s. So what I would say is, let's free up some points. Let's go for a 6th Cold One Knight, just to get a little bit more beef in there as well. Let's go for... the Harpies can stay at 5. I think they're super fine to be at 5. The Deemfire Warlocks can be 5 as well, because you're just being as minimalist as possible. And honestly, you know what? Actually, it's just the Cold Ones that I want to add another model to. We're definitely going to get rid of at least one of the plain sorceresses. I don't think that's going to do very much for you. And the Supreme Sorceress, who has got Ogre Blade, Tome of Fury, and Illusion. I respect what you're going for, but you are super squishy. Is there a way that we can have an Illusion caster that doesn't immediately die? Maybe. So if we went Talisman of Protection, which is 30 points, and then we went Tome of Fury, which is 15. So that's 45. We could spend 55 points on a magic weapon. Duelist Blades would be Strength 3, AP 1. That's no good. Headsman's Axe, that would be Strength 4, AP 1. That's a little bit rough as well. Giant Blade would be Strength 4. Not really getting anywhere with these. Like, Ogre Blade is very exciting when it gets in, but... everything else is kind of a bit naff. There's no good weapons that are cheap enough. We need something that's 55 points, but everything that's 55 points kind of just sucks. Maybe we just accept that you're living life on the edge and you're just going to use your 4-up armor save and then sometimes fall over really quickly. So we've got the Ogre Blade and we've got the Tome of Fury. Alright, Godspeed, soldier. We're just going to stick with that then. This sorceress who's gone for demonology, I like it, but we're going to go for a level 4, and we're also going to go with, you've got the Lore Familiar already. 2 attempts is better than 1, slightly better one. What's this? Oh, you're all just talking about how to submit lists. Okay, fine. I'll leave you to it. Yeah, so one of the problems you're going to have here with the Cold One Knights is that you're only leadership 8 on the Supreme Sorceresses. I think we're also going to make this one the general, because this one here, even though it's on a dragon, is so much more vulnerable to death because you've got no real saves on it, and it's super easy to pick out. So we're going to make this one the general. I think that's just a little bit safer to do. Then this sorceress here, we want to be at minimum a level 2 wizard. You know, you need to realistically be able to cast spells more gooder. And I think this one is also a really good model to put the Ruby Ring of Ruin on. So this gives you a mobile model to run around and do some stuff. And then you've got the Death Hag, who has got 2 hand weapons and the Rune of Cain, which gives you plus D3 attacks. This goes really well with Ogre Blade, which you've already got on a character. And yeah, I don't think there's really anything we can do with it. I can't be too mad that you're talking absolute bollocks in chat, because you are keeping engagement up, I guess. YouTube does like it. Death Hag was chiefly to get Witch Elves into core. That's fair. That's fine. I do like giving them the Banner of Hargoneth. Oh no, you've already got it on the cold ones. We might actually have to drop this. I think we might just have to live with 5 cold ones. And you've got the Sorceress in there for a 6th anyway. Oh, this Sorceress. I think with the restrictions that you're going with, the best that we can do without like reworking the feel of it is changing up the characters, dropping one of the sorceresses, making all of them a little bit more effective. I think that's probably the best thing that we can do there. Executioner's Axe, says Daniel. Executioner's Axe is fantastic. I've run it on a sorceress on Cold One, and it was very funny. I'm not sure it was good, but it was funny. The problem is it's 70 points, so you still can't put it on and then get a ward save, and then also get, +1 spell known or a lore familiar. So it's difficult to do everything that we want to with the Supreme Sorceress, which is a shame. But yeah, I think this is fine. I think this is solid. You know what? I'm actually going to say you could take the Banner of Harganeth off this unit and put it on the Witch Elves. I don't know that I would do that in retrospect. Hold on, let's have a look, because if we do that, we could go... Witch Elves do nothing without AP, so giving them the Banner of Harganeth, which is the +1 AP to all combat weapons. If we take it off this cold one, what we can do is we can drop down a couple of cold one, a couple of Dark Riders. So if we go down to 7 in both units, or maybe an 8 and a 6. Let's go an 8 and a 6. And then we need to put 3 more points into core. So what if we just go Musician as well? That means that we can get a 6th Cold One Knight in. I think I like that more. Because you've got a Demonology caster in, you're already going to get them up to Strength 7 AP3. You don't really need that AP4. I think this might be the way forwards. This looks solid to me. I'd like to have a champion in here as well, but I don't know how to do that without completely reworking the core. One does have to wonder what went through their head when they made the weapons. Yeah, I agree. Great weapons just being better than almost everything else in the game is pretty nuts. So let me just post this one for Flat World Search. Boom, there we go. Executioner's Axe on the Hag. Oh, that's not a bad shout. The problem that we're having here is we've only got 3 points remaining in character slots, so we'd probably have to drop another one of the wizards. But yeah, no, it is a really solid weapon if you can justify putting it in. It kills dwarves really well. Giant's Blade, lol. Giant's Blade's not awful. I was wondering if you swap it for the Giant's Blade, but that still only puts you to Strength 4, which just doesn't feel good. I'd rather have, I think, a Sword of Might or something like that here. Cool. Alright. So, did we have anyone else in chat who wanted to go next? I'm not sure if we've got anyone who's here that we want to look at. If not, I can just move on to the next one, which was Luca's Mortuary Cult list. So, Lewis Raphael. Your YouTube handle is different to your Discord handle, I think, Lewis. What's your Discord name? What are you? 0 AP feels bad. Multi-wound creatures without armor. Yeah, I agree. Oh, hell yeah. That's worked out nicely. Perfect stuff. Well, here we are. We've got the Mortuary Cult list, and I think at first blush it looks like a really solid list. So the thrust of the list is you've gone triple Necrosphinx, which is brutal. 3 Necrosphinxes here, a Casket of Souls, and then you're backing it up with some Ashabti. It didn't say what they had. I'm assuming they have the Great Bows. Is that correct? If I just go into the channel, I think you may have handwritten this one as well, if I remember correctly. Or the output that you use doesn't actually show all of the upgrades. Yeah, it just says Ushabti and Champion. I'm assuming that is with Great Bows, which is probably the best way of doing it. Great Bows, hell yeah, fantastic. So I don't actually have many notes on this. Let's just have a quick look at what it would look like if we went down to just as close to core points as possible. So if we go... Yeah, it's got to be like this. Tomb Scorpions are good, but we can shave the ambushes. We probably don't, but I'm just seeing how many points we can free up here, theoretically, to play around with. So this gives us 45 points, because what I'm thinking is, it feels a bit of a shame to only have a single Mortuary Priest here. Like, I'd quite like to... sorry, a single High Priest. I'd quite like a second level 4 if we could upgrade one. So if we go High Priest 170 with Lore Familiar, we're talking 200. So that's so many more points. I don't think we can fit it in. I think it just doesn't work. Evening Camille, hope you're doing well. Yeah. I do like the setup on this High Priest. I think I've pointed it out before, but I'm going to, again, if anyone who is not aware, having your general, having an Earthing Rod in Mortuary cult is really strong. The way it works is you get to re-roll one miscast. It's a single, once per. You roll your miscast. If you don't like it, you re-roll. Why is this important? You start with this model. It's probably the one that's going to have your reserve move on, which is the thing you're going to cast first. If you miscast, this means that you have a chance of not absolutely ruining your casting phase, your entire turn, because you can, if you get the sort of higher level rolls where it's like, oh, you get the spell off, but you don't get to cast anything else, you get another chance to just take some, a high strength hit. One High Priest is not really enough without the catapults to reliably proc the Light of Death. I don't think Necromancy does enough for this list. That's fair. That is fair. But I feel like the Casket of Souls is in this list more for the defensive capabilities, and then the High Priest is more a case of being just all-in-one tool, because it gives you, potentially you're going to roll into the Magic Missile, you might roll into Spiritual Vortex, you might roll into the debuff, Curse of Years. Spectral Steed's really good in this list, because you can fly around. Spirit Leech, like, all of these are really good. I guess you could go Elementalism, but you have got a level 2 Elementalism for, trying to go Plague of Rust, TMP, whatever you want to go with there. So why bother with Necromancy? It's kind of medium, to be honest. Okay, yeah, I can see the argument for that. You could just go, like, double up on the Elementalism. I don't hate the Necromancy or going Illusion. I'm just going to leave it as, Spell Lore down to you. I don't think it changes the list particularly all that much. But yeah, I don't think that actually really does anything here. I think we just go back to how you had everyone there. I tell you what I probably would do, just for the sake of it. Lose one archer, give both of these the Terror Below. A lot of the time it's not going to make a difference, but then sometimes you're just going to be able to snipe a character. So this is really solid, because if you are playing in, say, like a Necromancy, a Mortuary Cult Mirror, and they've got characters that aren't in units, you can potentially just, select a single enemy unit, snipe it. They lose the game because you've killed their Hierophant. Something along those lines. You also have this thought, but you're not sure which lore would be better for the list, given that Lore Familiar is already used. Yeah, you could easily double up on Elementalism. That's probably sort of like the default, because you're going for the Poison Shooting Brick, and it gives you another chance of TMP, another chance of Plague of Rust, another chance of Earthen Ramparts, all of these things. Yeah, Edward says similar there. So I think this is solid. Did we change anything? I don't know that we changed anything. Oh, yeah, we took off one Poison Archer and we gave them the Terrors Below, which is just a little, cheeky tweak in case you need to do anything. So I think that's probably all we want to go with there. But yeah, good list otherwise. And yeah, maybe tweak the spell lore. But I'm not the Mortuary Cult expert to that level that I would say. You would swap for the Blade Shabti. I don't know if I agree with that. The Bow Shabti are so effective, and the Blade Shabti are so easily avoided. I understand that it gives you some defense, but this isn't really like the most passive Mortuary Cult list. This has got 3 Necrosphinxes in, so you've got more aggressive tools in the lists to stop them from running towards you. But yeah, so that's what we've got for Luca's Mortuary Cult list. Let's go on to Harry's Grand Army Orcs. This is an interesting one. Let's just have a quick look here. Was there anything in the chat? Harry says, hello, new to the old world, but just started playing every Tuesday. Any help appreciated. Cool, that sounds good. So this is, again, four pieces of artillery. I think this is solid. This is just a really upsetting list to have to play against in terms of, getting absolutely ruined by artillery. Not in a super oppressive way, but it's, there's the mental game there for sure. Hey, Harry Houdini. Good to have you. Mangler Squigs are fine. They're very cheap. They're okay. So here you've gone for the Black Orc Warboss, who you've given a great weapon as well as giving a magic weapon. So we're going to take that off and we'll give him a shield, because you don't need to double dip on that one. Ogre Blade Talisman of Protection is definitely one of the ways you can go. I personally lean towards the tankier version, where you go Talisman of Protection, the Trollhide Trousers, and then just a great weapon as well. But with that said, you will absolutely slap. You'll have 5 attacks, you know, Strength 7, AP 2. So I don't think you're wrong to do this. It's more kind of personal preference. You've gone double War Magic here, and then you've got 39 poison shooting goblins. I think, because you've got 2 wizards here, and you haven't gone Lore Familiar, I'd be tempted to go Elementalism on one of them, and to go War Magic on the other one. Thanks for taking a look. Not showing the bolt throwers also. No worries at all. Bolt throwers, so I probably wouldn't run one. They're super cheap. They're probably these, along with the Chaos Dwarf ones, which are the same, some of the best bolt throwers in the game, because they're only ballistic skill 3, but they're super cheap. T5 with 3 wounds is squishy, but doesn't fall over to bow fire the same way the elf ones do with their 1 less wound. And they just kind of plap away for like a very, very cheap point. But we can probably, honestly, if you're only running one, probably take that out for now. And the Boar Boys here love Boar Boys, but you've gone for Cavalry Spears, Heavy Armor, Shields, Biggins, and Full Command. All that's great. Let's just turbocharge them. Let's just give them the Banner of Butchery, which gives them +1 strength on the turn they charge, which comboed with their Chopper Rule, comboed with their Biggins, comboed with the Cavalry Spears, gets them up to Strength 6, AP 2, and Armor Bane 1 on the charge, and you reroll 1, so it makes them hit really hard. I'd like a 7th model as well, if we've got points for it, so we'll put 7 in and we'll come back and tweak if we need to. Here's fine. I don't know that you need to teleport this unit around, honestly, but Elementalism is probably still the best thing to do with them. So I think I would probably go Elementalism on this caster, because War Magic on one of them is really good, but I'd probably go Elementalism and Lore Familiar. Why can't I pick Lore Familiar? Oh, because you've gone for Idlemork. So if we go Lore Familiar and... where is the Ruby Ring you had there? I think that's really solid. And then the Night Goblin, if we give this one the Idlemork, if you want to have that in for the increased defensive dispelling power, I think that's solid. Then you've got a War Boss, who's on a giant cave squig, wallop with 1-hit wonder. I do like this. This is a very cheeky little character that hits pretty hard. And that just leaves us 38 points over budget, which might mean something has to go. I think realistically we've got to drop one of these, unfortunately. 6 is still fine. I like 7 a little bit more. Just having... the thing you'll find with heavy cav or stuff like this is if you go too low, as soon as they take a couple of casualties, they kind of stop being useful. But I think 6 is still okay. I just like the defense of an extra one. Then we honestly would probably just lose maybe 1 Black Orc here. How's this equipped? So using the shields and great weapons. Oh, we definitely want to give them stubborn, because they're going to get charged, realistically. They're not going to get the charge off. Big Red Raggedy Flag is fine. It's a lot of points for a low number of models, though. We're 30 points over. I don't know if I'd run that, just on the basis of it's expensive. I think if it's okay with you, I would probably remove the Mangler Squig, put the Boar Boys up to a 7th model, and then just use the points here to bulk out this unit a little bit more. So we go up to 15, or we can go up to 16. Yeah, so if you've got the models for it, this just makes the Black Orc unit a little bit more, like you can take a charge and then still punch. Black Orcs are solid. They're not the best unit in the game, but they're one of the better infantry units, because obviously they've got mob rule, as I can tell you understand, because you've got shields and great weapons equipped on half of them each. Big Red Raggedy Flag, it's a really nice defensive boost, +1 combat res and also +1 weapon skill. Does mean that you're less likely to just get run over when someone charges you. So I think these are the tweaks that I'd make, and I think this is a solid variation on the list that you were running, without sort of altering the core of it too much, without making you need to add loads of new models. So let me just type Harry here. Oh, there are 2 people who are at Harry. I'm just going to post your list in the channel because I don't want to tag the wrong Harry, but you should be able to find that. Lovely, lovely stuff. Ian said Doom Divers, so good. Wait for the Lone Catherine Feast. Yeah, Doom Divers are pretty disgusting when you're trying to snipe out lone characters. Okay. So we're going to go to Elador, balanced vampire count list. Let's have a look what we've got here. I believe there's a little bit of text in the channel here. Let me just find it. Maybe further down. Trying to run a balanced list. Really wish I could fit in another caster for more Van Hells. Keep swapping between Illusion and Necromancy on the Mortis engine. Hey, hell yeah. Glad to have you. No worries, Harry. Glad to have you as well. So you've gone for 2 units of zombies, a unit of Graveguard with great weapons drilled, the full shebang. Then you've got some Fellbats, then you've got the Blood Knights who have got... Okay. So the thing that immediately jumps out at me is none of your units have got the Drakenhof banner. So the Standard of Hellish Vigor, what does that give you? Reserve move. So this unit has... I'm pretty sure there was something in here that gives them... Am I wrong? I kind of feel like Blood Knights can march. Dark Vitality? Yes, there we go. So Dark Vitality, unless they've joined a unit that does not have the special rule, they can march as normal. So you don't need the Standard of Hellish Vigor. A reserve move is nice, but you can just march, which means that paying 40 points for this is... oh, should be Drakenhof. Yeah, perfect. To be fair, Hellish Vigor kind of sounds like it gives them an improved regen save. That was your must have messed up. No problems at all. That does put us 8 points over. Good job. We're working on it. So you've gone for the full defense. You've given them drilled as well. Very cool. And Fellbats. I really like Fellbats. For anyone who hasn't seen these, they're just... so the Monstrous Infantry. There are also Skirmishers with 360 line of sight, fly, swift stride. Only 2 attacks each, 2 wounds. They do have... obviously just a standard regen, but they get into war machines really easily, and for 45 points they're a right nightmare to deal with. Of course, sometimes you come up against Bretonnians and then you're sad, but I think that's solid. And then here, I think all of this is fine as well. So we're really just looking at the character setup. So, let's have a look here. Undead fly march. Undead that can fly do indeed march. So we've got a... So you've got 1 on a Mortis engine. Was it, you were saying, another caster from War Van Hells? I think, yeah, another Mortis engine would be really nice, but I think you're losing a lot to do that. So you've got a BSB White Lord, who is Heavy Armor Shield, Helm of Commandment. Helm of Commandment's good, it's the one that gives you plus, yeah, there we go. Weapon skill plus. So what we're going to do first thing is we're going to give him a skeletal steed. The barding just gets you up to a 3-up armor save instead of just being a 4, which is nice. And then you've obviously got the regen as well there. I feel like there are more than 23 people in here. Hit them thumbs, people. Thank you, Samuel. Appreciate that. Yes, if you are here and you haven't hit the thumbs up, would appreciate that. For the Necromancer, I'd just say double Necromancy is really good. You've got 2 Tomb Banshees, and Necromancy has a number of things that are really solid with that. So you've got Spectral Steed remains in play. You want to cast this on both of your Banshees if possible. So they can fly 10 inches out, scream 8 inches, fly 10 inches backwards with a reserve move. It's just a really strong combination. Obviously, then you're also going to debuff all of their leadership, and then you can debuff with Curse of Years as well. Unquiet Spirits just ruins elves as well. So really good lore. I'd go double Necromancy. This one's got a Spell Familiar in the Crown of the Damned. I think that's good. The question becomes Skullstaff and the Scepter. It would be nice to have one of these. What have you gone for? Cloak of Mist and Shadow, Spell Familiar, Skullstaff. Let's have a look here. So Cloak is ethereal. Skullstaff. Yeah, Skullstaff's good. Obviously Spell Familiar. I don't like the Cloak in this list because one of the protections you're going to have against Pillar of Fire, which is one of the things you're going to struggle with, is being able to join units. And if you are ethereal, obviously you can't join units. I think if you want to go ethereal, you also need to fit in a unit spirit host that you can join the Banshee to. But because you can't do that, just points-wise, I think we drop the ethereal here, and you just position so you either can't be attacked or you're inside a unit. I think that's much safer for you. I wouldn't hate giving this a ward save, but I don't know how worth that's doing. I'd also like to get the double res on here as well. Let's put the Skull Staff on. 2042. I think this is probably a better loadout. So you've still got the ward save, you've still got the 5 spells, you've still got... oh, we've gone double Skull Staff because I'm a Muppet. Sorry, take that off. Scepter of Dinero. There we go. Now only 34 points. Sorry, 27 points over. Yeah, perfect. And then here, we just go... -2 Graveguard. Still have 22. And, yeah. I think that is solid. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of drilled on them, but I also don't think it's bad to have drilled on them. It kind of depends how you play them. So I think something like this is probably pretty optimal, honestly. Yeah. I think that works. Just gives you a little bit more reliability in the caster setup. Both your Tomb Banshees are going to be able to basically fire and fade forwards, move 10, scream 8, move 10 back. You're going to be debuffing their leadership more. You're going to be casting those incredibly annoying magic missiles that just kill any T3 heavy cavalry, which there is a surprising amount of. And yeah, your White Lord's a little bit tankier. I think it's too much to give him more. Give him a ward save, so we're just going to post that one in as well. Anyway, for High Elves to beat Vampire counts, yeah, it's not an easy match. You just have to pick your fights. You have to overwhelm aspects of the board, basically. If you can put like a dragon in front of the Blood Knights, for example, if your opponent mispositions the Blood Knights, over either 2 or 3 rounds of combats, depending on when you charge them or they charge you, and when the rezzing of their unit champion happens, it gives you some flexibility. Although Blood Knights can challenge, can't they? So you might need to multi-charge them. I can't remember. Do you have to have a unit champion? No. Okay, so you probably need to multi-charge realistically, so you can tank the challenge on, I don't know, like a Silver Helm champion, something like that, and then the dragon can just eat the entire squad, and then you win at combat res. Cool. Okie dokie. So, let's go with, what do we got next? Stug Bra's Tracing Anvil. So, we have got here an interesting list. So, it's a lot of trace, but it's called Anvil, but there's not a specific Anvil unit. There's 2 units of 13 Lion Guard, and I'm assuming one of them goes with the Prince, one of them goes with Corhill. Something along those lines there. So, my first comment would be, I like these units, but let's just make them a little bit more useful. I think having them all be units of 5 just means that they're likely going to die before they do all that much. So if we just bulk them up a little bit, I think you're going to get more mileage out of it. I do like the Musician. I do like the full warbows, line cloaks, heavy armor, making them as useful as possible. So I'd probably go 7. I like 8s, but 8s feels a little bit beefy for these units, having played with them. In here, we've got 2 war lines, we've got 2 line chariots. I'm not super in love with the line chariots. They're only T4, and they've only got a 4-up armor save. Yes, it's a 3-up armor save if you factor in the line cloak against non-magical shooting, but, you know, they would kind of just fall over to a Ruby Ring of Ruin some of the time. But, you know, it's not awful to have them in. And then you've got a unit of 5 sisters, and you've got the Lion Guard. I want the sisters to be a little bit beefier. 5, especially when you've got a very expensive magic item in there, just kind of falls over, and that does worry me. And then here, I think it's a shame not to have, you know, just spend 10 points to get all of the good rules here, where you're going to be getting the free Tracing Great Blade, Stubborn, Move Through Cover, all of that good stuff as well. So that does put us points over here, and I think the easy way to fix this is to take something out of special, because I don't hate the Lion Guard. I think we're just going like 2 units of 7x2, so you've got 2 bricks of like reasonably hitty infantry with the White Lions and the Lion Guard. So I think the answer here is probably just remove one of the units of War Lions, as nice as they are. I'd rather get rid of the Lion Chariots, but I don't want to take them out if... no, don't say that. I'm not going to take out the Lion Chariots unless, you know, Stug is here. I don't want to make that sort of level of tweak without, you know, being able to bounce that off someone, because this feels like probably models that the player likes, whether it's the look of or the way they play, something like that. So I don't want to just take them out. So losing, you know, a couple of War Lines here is probably the better tweak to go for. And we're still a few points over, which we can take fully out of core. So let's just go down to, how do we do this? 7 points missing. Not really sure what we want to cut here, honestly. It's a slightly awkward amount of points. Unless we go 7, 7, 7, then have a 5 and just lose the musician on this unit just for points purposes. If you watch this back, Stug, the reason for this is just to get to exactly 500 points. So we don't have to tweak around the list for too long. I think you could be more efficient with your characters as well. But I think this is reasonable for keeping a general alive with the ability to swing out and do decent damage. Obviously, Corhill is fighting at strikes first with Strength 6 AP3 Killing Blow, which is really solid. And then the Prince is striking at initiative with Strength 6 AP3 strikes last. So not too shabby there. We're just going to export this one out, and job is a good one. Oops. Didn't paste for some reason. I guess I've accidentally copied the empty space. Cool. Who have we got up next? Yes, we've got Bernie. Bernie, who submitted their list late a couple of times. So glad to have your list here to look at. Let's have a deeks at what we've got here. So, Bernie's got some Tomb Kings and has gone for the aggressive Tomb King on Dragon, which honestly I do quite like to see, although I would like to see a shield on there, so let's just put that on, which I know does take us over points, but we're probably going to tweak that somehow. We've got a High Priest with Elementalism, and then we've got... okay. Did Bernie say anything? Did they submit anything with their list? Because there's some... maybe slightly inefficient choices that we can tweak around with here. So, Bernie says, my list is basically Poison Archers with reroll 1s to hit and a level 4 Elementalism caster, teleporting around alone and running around alone, teleporting them and stuff. Have a hard to break battle line with the Tomb Guard and have the monsters engage the enemy after they run into the Tomb Guard or engage flanking units. Against ranged matchups, I usually park a lot of my squishy stuff in the corner to not lose any points. It usually works quite well, but I struggle to win high. And then the name of the list was 100 points, characters, and rest. It's in German, but I think it's basically 1,000 points in characters and sod the rest, something along those lines. So, I think what we're doing here is we've got a wizard that doesn't have the ability to pick spells, but it's also pretty key to the way that the list plays. So we 100% have to run a Lore Familiar here. And I'd also be tempted to put a Power Scroll on as well, because sometimes you just need to get one of those spells off. Then we've got Royal Herald, who is the BSB, who has got a Ward Save and a Sword of Might, which is fine. A Mortuary Priest on foot with the Amulet of the Serpent, which is fine as well. And then we've got a Tomb Prince, who is Flail of Skulls, which is cute, but I don't think it's actually doing all that much. So I think we're just going to cut this because we're, in character deficit. We're too heavy into points and characters. So let's just make sure there's nothing else we can go here. Okay, nothing on the Tomb Prince. The High Priest, we've got a Lore Familiar and a Power Scroll. That's super worth doing. Royal Herald is Warding Splint and Sword of Might. Is there anything else that we want to tweak on that one? I'm not in love with this, but having a BSB is just good in general for Tomb Kings. The Mortuary Priest may as well be a level 2. It gives you +1 model res, it gives you +1 to your cast, it gives you +1 spell known. Obviously, you are going to be going for the Jaff's Cursed Blades, but you know, if you roll into Elementalism, you might just get something good as well. So that's not too shabby. And honestly, maybe we give you a Power Scroll as well. Just the ability to do so would be good. Yeah, let's go with that, and that gives you just a little bit of more flexibility. Then we're at 1973. You've got the Tomb Guard, who are a big unit, who have got Icon of the Sacred Eye. Remind me how this one works. +1 weapon skill. That's right, yes. So, they did have the Prince in them, and the Prince was giving them +1 weapon, or like the ability to give them +1 weapon skill. I think it's probably fine to lose that. I know you're losing some protection from the grinding out, but maybe you drop the Herald instead. I'll kind of leave that down to your sensibilities as to what you'd rather have. Double Tomb Scorpion with Ambush is good, and then Necrosphinx, Casket of Souls is solid as well. And I think even though you're losing a model here, I think this is a better setup for reliability, because I think if you're not taking the Lore Familiar on the High Priest, the whole plan just falls apart 1 in 3 games, and I don't think that's like an acceptable game plan in terms of if you want consistency. So we're also going to go give you a Master of Arrows on the champion, because a lot of the time you're probably going to have the High Priest in there, or at least you're going to have the Mortuary Priest in there, because he's got the Amulet of the Serpent. So this just protects you against being, you know, ruined by a dragon or something like that. It gives you the ability to challenge out with the Skeleton Archers. And it's also really strong if you've got a, whatchamacallit? Words are hard. If you res them, you can just keep a dragon in a challenge pretty much infinitely, as long as you bring other combat res. So yeah, I think that's the tweaks that I'd make here. As always, if there are any tweaks that you don't like or disagree with, feel free to post in the relevant channel. That would be the Tomb King channel for this one, and you know, let me know, and I can, you know, look at making other tweaks with you. There we go. Perfect. So let's go with, we've got 2 more, and we've got Will G, who recently became a channel member. Thank you very much, Will. Appreciate that. Who is playing Heralds of Darkness, and there definitely was some text with this one. So let's have a quick look at what Will was saying. Will says, "Hi Ed, my Herald's list has been performing well lately and is pretty tuned at this point, but I'm interested if you can spot anything you'd recommend changing. We'll be bringing to an RTT in a few weeks." Hey, Will's here, perfect. The Lords plus Sorcerer and Knights form a big unit for points now in threat piece. The Dragon and BSB Chariot play support roles, Dogs and Marauders are Chaff, and War Machine Hunters respectively. I would love to be able to fit Nurgle on the BSB, but can't fit it in without adding more units per the Herald rules, sadly. Yeah, that is pretty sad. I do hate that. So, what's the list? We've got Lord, Sorcerer Lord, Champion, Knights, Warhounds, Marauder Horsemen, and the Warpfire Dragon. Already, this is a good start. You've already got most of the things that I'd be recommending that you put in. So let's just go sort of line by line. So we've got a Chaos Lord General, Shield, Mark of Nurgle, Demonic Mount, Enchanting Aura, which is pretty important if you want to have a chance to go up against dragons, because the Strike Last is really, really important to get rid of. Also, I think, realistically, you don't necessarily win a fight against a dragon, but if you've managed to chip them down, or if you're also buffed by Demonology, maybe there is a world that you just threaten to kill a dragon, which is pretty spicy. 2 Favor of the Gods Paymaster's Coin. Yeah, that's really efficient. I wouldn't make any changes there. The Sorcerer Lord, level 4, also Mark of Nurgle. I guess it gives them +1 toughness, that works quite nicely. And then you've got Chaos Steed, Demonology, Armor of Meteoric Iron, alongside Infernal Puppet, Favour of the Gods, Spell Familiar. Yeah, so the only thing that I'd wonder if you could tweak, do you have the points? No, because I'd like to give you a regen save instead of a better armor save. But 50, 65, even with the Infernal Puppet and the Spell Familiar, you're already capped out on points, so I think this is fine. Something that I found is it's really difficult to keep the Sorcerer Lord alive, so going for, you know, some sort of armor save is probably the best you can do. Also, although we're not capped on points here, we are capped on points here because we've got a Warp 5 Dragon and we're at the 662. It's weird when you're writing this list, you find that you're not actually capped at 1,000 points, you're capped at 960, effectively, which is an odd list building quirk. Aspiring Champion, you've got BSB with no standard, Undivided Chariot, single favour of the gods. So I really want a war banner here, but I don't know what you cut to make it. Like, you could cut the demonic mount down to a regular mount, but the Chaos Lord is 4 wounds base, right? And then the demonic mount gives you a 5th one. Yeah, so I don't really want to go down 4 wounds, and the demonic mount is solid. But the Chaos Steed would give you +1 to your save. That is the other thing to consider. So let's say we go down from demonic mount to steed, and we go here, war banner. Yeah, then still 4 points over. God damn, that's annoying. You'd have to cut a single favour of the gods, which would come off the Sorcerer Lord, because the Sorcerer Lord doesn't need to be rolling. But I still don't love that. And also, I'd want to see the ward save on here as well. Okay, I think we're just going to have to suck it up and go cheap and cheerful on the Aspiring Champion. You could also lose the Marks of Nurgle. So what could we shave realistically? We could shave 20 points, no, 10 points here for Mark of Nurgle. This one keeps the Mark of Nurgle. And then we shave Favour of the Gods, that's 25. Oh, not even 25, 15. Yeah, I think it's just, there's no way to squeeze it in, unfortunately. So we've just got to go back to Demonic Mount. Yeah, so I don't think, Will, there's really anything that I changed, so I'm not going to link it. I'll talk through the concern points I have with the list. So the Chaos Knights, the big thing that I found with this unit is Mark of Nurgle, while good, is risky, because Mark of Undivided gives you rerolls on Fear, Panic, or Terror. You're only Leadership 9, and you do have a BSB in this list, so you're a little bit less... Sorry, you're Leadership 8, you've got the General in there, and you've got the BSB, so you're a little bit less vulnerable to it than a normal Chaos Knight boss, but you can just fail panic checks and run off the board, which fucking sucks, basically. It really sucks. So I would consider dropping Nurgle here. Yes, it's nice enough, but honestly, Nurgle is mostly strong in the Sorcerer Lord, giving you the +1 toughness spell. Terror checks are a clench fest with this 1200 point unit. Okay, yeah, if you're experiencing concerns, immediately let's just go to Undivided. I've played with both. I ran off the board with Nurgle, and I was like, never again. Undivided, I really value. I think that's really, really solid. Just being able to reroll, because you're going to find that the champion's not around to give you the rerolls a lot, right? So then here, is there anything that we could tweak? Because we need to put 26 points back in here. If we just go +1, that takes us up to 1999. So I think that's a good change to make. And you can spend those 30 points kind of however you want. You could go another unit of Warhounds without Vanguard. I don't think I would, but you could kind of tweak as you like. The other concern I have here is that the champion, I think the best version of the champion gives it a ward save, a regen save from the one of the two here. I like Talisman of the Carrion Crow, given the poison attacks as well, but either is good. And then also the plus combat res from the War Banner. You're going to really struggle to fit those points in, but that's kind of the best version of it that you can find. Does mean that we then need to lose Nurgle from a character. Oh, that's true, but I think that's okay. We can lose Mark and Nurgle here. I don't hate that, honestly. You keep it on the Sorcerer Lord because it's going to give you the toughness. And yes, it's nice to have on the Chaos Lord. But I don't know if I care all that much. The other thing you could do is you could drop 2 of these, and then you could just duplicate this unit, right? Oh, we'd have to drop 3 of those, so you're down to 12. Like, that still works. you could play around with it if you wanted to get the additional Mark and Nurgle in, and you could go down to like units of 5 if you wanted to be really just economical. A lot of the time, these are going to be used for like filling up terrain. They're there to unlock Mark and Nurgle for characters, fill up terrain, so that the Green Knight can't get in them. But yeah, I think this is. I personally also prefer shields and like cav spears because the 5-up save is just more efficient. I find they don't get into combat a lot to use the flails, but again, this is very like personal preference as opposed to hard and fast rules. So I don't think there's anything here that I would necessarily super tweak, other than changing the Chaos Knights from Mark of Nurgle to Mark of Undivided. But I'd like this character to have a regen save and the War Banner. Hard to fit in, but you know, if you're looking to make character tweaks, you could go and let's just do it here. Chaos Steed. Let's be really greedy. We're going to drop a Favour of the Gods. We're going to drop the Paymaster's Coin. We're going to drop a Favour of the Gods here, and then on the Aspiring Champion we go War Banner, and we also go Crown of Everlasting Conquest. How far over? Which takes us to exactly points, but you are admittedly losing stuff here and here, which you don't really lose anything on the Sorcerer Lord, but you've lost stuff here. So this is, I will link this as an alternative, but this is just so you've got an example of the different characters. This makes this unit much better, but it does definitely, you're paying a price for it out of the Lord. Being on the Chaos Steed is not the end of the world, though, because it does get you to a 2-up armor save with the full plate Bardic Shield. So I'm going to, at Will G, ping that there. And, yeah, hopefully that's an interesting thought experiment to play around with, whichever sort of direction you decide to go with. But core, I definitely take the 15 Chaos Knights instead of the 14 with Nurgle. And then we are finally on to Ghosts, Renegade Demons. Renegade Demons. So, I'll be honest, I've completely forgotten what was in the pack. Will says, great to have the input, thanks. You're very welcome. Always glad to have people here to discuss the lists. And obviously I'm a big Heralds of Darkness fan. So let me just pull up the Renegade changes, because we have an honest-to-goodness Chaos Demon list, and there were a lot of changes. I remember roughly what it was off the top of my head, but I don't want to invent something or miss something, so I'm just going to try and pull up that in the background. Ghost said, upcoming 40-player event with the Renegade pack, 2k points, 25% max on characters total. That's interesting. I wondered why I'd only gone for a single character there, the Great Unclean one. But if we just go... if anyone's got a link
for the
to
list check.
The Squarebase pack, saves me stumbling around in the background while I try and load it up, that would be appreciated. Oh, thanks, Will. Appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Solar Warden, I'm Ghost. Oh, hell yeah, Solar Warden. So when you were asking if there were any Renegades, it was literally just you that was there. So... remind me, because you're likely to know off the top of your head, demons. Obviously, they changed the unit force organization, so your character doesn't unlock things. It does, but not in a meaningful way. You have a 5-up ward all of the time. Was there anything else meaningful that changed for demons that affects your list? Because I think the list is interesting. The thing that when I loaded it up, first thing I looked at, weapons, Plague Fail, I don't understand why the Bile Sword would ever be taken. Strength, AP, Armor Bane 1, no, strikes last, no regen saves. Plague Fail's really good. Gets you up to Strength 8, AP 3, multiple wounds D3. Oh, Raphael, hi, I'm the Tomb King player who you just did the list. Why did you put a shield on the dragon? He already has a 4-up. Oh, did I miss anything? You know what, that's a really good point. Let me just quickly pop back. Yeah, sorry, I'm used to people taking the Armor of Ages, so they need the shield as well. Let's take the shield off. You've still got 4 points in the list available. So yeah, you don't need the shield at all. You're 100% correct with that one. That's me just in my head going, oh, Armor of Ages, I need to put a shield on that character. So, back to the demons here. So the Great and Clean one, the one thing I'm wondering is, are there any gifts that are worth taking? So you're 445 points. So in theory, you could take anything up to 55 points, which would be Aether Blade, but you've already got a really good weapon, so you don't need that. Many Arms is not very good. Winged Horror is for the infantry characters only, right? You can only put it on heralds. Yeah, normal heralds only. Solar Warden. I found Infernal Gateway to be a massive buff to Fatty if he gets it. Battle Lust always good. Yeah, I think Dark Magic is good. It's either Dark Magic or Demonology. 50-50 on which way you go, and I see why you would go Dark Magic. It's just a shame you can't get a boost to your reliability on spells. Oh yeah, no, now I look at it, I do remember that the Nurgle ones are basically all for the Heralds. Sloppy Bilepiper is Heralds, Spoil for Pox, Scrivener is Heralds. Trapping a Nurgle is a 4-up armor save. That's honestly not awful, because you come stock with a 5-up regen and a 5-up ward. Stream of Contagion, and then Nurgling Infestation. Yeah, I wonder if you'd go with Trappings and Nurgle for 30 points. That does get you a little bit more tanky. It's not great against like dragons or anything like that, but it is really effective at helping shut down like poison shooting if you come up against big poison shooting blocks. Can't cast if I have the 4-up. Oh, for God's sakes. Games Workshop, why? Yeah, no, that's a good point. Doesn't have the... It should have just on the bottom here saying... wizards can cast, which you'd assume that it would, because why would you be able to take it if not? No, okay, yep, no, you've got me there. That's very true. Demonic Robes is not awful, but it's only basically against cannons that you care, because you're already, what, T7? Yes, T7, 7 wounds, so it's only strength 10 stuff in the game that really worries you, so you don't care about Demonic Robes. Alright, yeah, no, that's pretty efficient. Pink Horrors here, 21. I do like this Icon of Sorcery. So the way this works for anyone who is not a Demons player, which is going to be most of you, they've got a rule here called Scintillating Sorcery. They know one of the spells from the Demonic Alignment, which is they cast as a bound spell with a power level equal to the unit's rank bonus. They don't have Horde, so they can only get rank bonus 2. However, you then give them the Icon of Sorcery, which doubles the rank bonus. So currently they're casting it plus 4, which is really solid. And they have got... oh, I think it's not on here for some reason. So if you go into the Lore of Demons, they can know Pinkfire, which is a terrible magic missile, D3 plus Heath Strength, 3 hits, AP nothing. Or, if we just were to, I don't know, scroll down, you can see the Gift of Mutation, which is one of the best spells in the game, and it's nuts that it's not really talked about much. It's because demons are kind of just crap, although, you know, a bit better with a always-on ward save, so maybe we see it more of a conversation. So it's a hex that if you cast it on an 8, you debuff 1 of their stats. If you roll a 12, you debuff 2 of their stats. It's only a 12-inch range, but it is D3 minus D3 to weapon skill, strength, toughness, and you pick 1 or 2 depending on your casting roll. This spell is nuts, so I think having this unit here in core is really solid. I really like that. So one says, FYI, the base size is 150 by 100 by the book. It's mistakenly listed the other way around to an old world builder, but it means it's on a massively wide base. I've run the Pink Horrors behind the Beast of Nurgle. Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. So they don't just get immediately picked off. God, he's a beefy boy, isn't he? That's such a big base. I mean, I guess you could put him on a 50 by 50. I think that's technically allowed. Yeah. So you could legally put him on a little one if you had the little Great and Clean one, but yeah. And then you've got Beast of Nurgle, who are the, I think, most points efficiently tanky Nurgle units. So they're T5 with 4 wounds, and they've got a 5-up regen as well, which is reasonably tanky. They do have Impetuous. Are they better than the Plague Flies? Oh, Plague Drones. Plague Drones might be a rare unit only, because I like Plague Drones more, but okay. Yeah, if you can't take the Plague Drones, then because you've gone for 2 Burning Chariots as each, and I think I quite like these as well. Main question is the rare slot points. Yeah, I quite like these, actually. I think they're solid. So, for 250 points, you've got a Wizard Chariot. It is kind of squishy, so it comes in at T4, 4 wounds with a 4-up armor save and a 5-up ward, which is not bad, but it is 250 points. You're a level 3 wizard. You're Zinch, so you cast at +1, and it is a fly. Impact hits chariot. It is a light chariot, isn't it? Oh, is it? Or is it a heavier chariot? He's a heavy chariot with no swift stride. Okay, you don't want them in combat anyway in general. So you've gone for elementalism, which I think is probably best. It just feels a little bit rough that you're dry rolling with a bad signature spell, and I guess you can go into the hex as well, so you can go for more on the mobile hexing. But elementalism is solid. Plague of Rust is really good with this list. Because the Furies hit pretty hard, but, you know, giving them effectively AP, an additional AP2 is really nice. Or, like, you could go Illusion for the signature, but you're probably going for the Zinch signature. You could go Demonology if you want to try and buff yourself. I don't think Dark Magic is super important here. But yeah, I think this is solid. It's a real shame they can't take Battle Magic. I think if you could take Battle Magic, suddenly, like, even before the Renegade changes, this list gets, like, a big jump in effectiveness. I think you jump, like, 10% win rate if you're non-character casters can take Battle Magic, honestly. You say Soul Grinder better, maybe. I think the Soul Grind is good, but it's kind of limited, and you can only take one Soul Grinder, and you can't take anything else. You can't take that 250-point Wizard as well if you take it. This thing is solid, you know, T6, 6 wounds, especially when you've got, you know, what have we got here? Heavy armor, 5 up save, 5 up save, 5 up ward. You've got reserve move, and you are lumbering, so you move 8 inches, you lumber, you move 8 inches, you lumber, so you're pretty fast, and it is really good. And you've got stomp attacks with AP for Behemoth, but I just don't see it being worth playing over 2 chariots. I think this is solid. It does upset me a little bit to see the points as so. Is there a way to... the classic. The absolute classic. I guess I probably would keep the musician on here. Yeah. It's one of those ones where you kind of look at it and go, oh, well, there's not really anything I can tweak. Although, would you go... You could reroll charges, you could be -1 to enemy wizard casting, or you could get Furious Charge. I don't think any of those are super worthwhile, not for the points value. Yeah, I don't think there's really any tweaks that I'd make to this. Like, I've had ideas about things that I'd change, and then everything that I've said, you'd be like, actually, no, because of this, and you've been right. So you've obviously put a lot of thought into this list. I think this feels good, honestly. The only thing that maybe you'd want to tweak is getting more Furies. I think Furies are really good, but then this unit here is really solid as a debuffing piece. I just feel like maybe you want another mobile threat. So let's say you went like this. You'd have to shave down to... you just can't do it without losing the rank bonus. I think the list feels like you've kind of hit the platonic ideal of it. I don't know what you'd tweak. And even though you're so close, I don't think there's even anything you can give. Yeah, like, look at all these gifts that are super expensive. Got a Brett's Grudge match round 1. Hell yeah. Well, I hope that goes well for you. They honestly might bounce off the ward save. That would be fun to see. Yeah, no, I think this is solid. I think I can't see anything to change. So I'm not going to copy and paste it because I'd just be sending you your list back. But this is interesting. I'm curious to hear how it does. So please do let me know how you get on. I'm curious to hear about this one. I really don't rate the Great Unclean one, but I think if you've got a ward save that doesn't get turned off, I immediately rate it a lot more, because that is a beefy boy that's going to struggle to, or you're going to struggle to get through. And he hits pretty hard as well, so the things that normally would kill him, like a dragon, are going to be a little bit worried about it, especially if you get some of the good stuff in Dark Magic. Cool. All right, well, that takes us to the end of the stream. I believe that is everyone's list there. Let me just go through, make sure that I haven't accidentally missed anyone that I've written on. Perfect, yeah. Hope you enjoyed. Hope that was fun to watch. Obviously had Mikey on stream for a bit as well. Hope that was enjoyable. I do enjoy doing some collab content, and obviously we've got that Ginger Steve connection. Nice to be linked in that way. If you're still watching and you do want to be submitting a list down the line, join the Discord, and every fortnight, every 2 weeks, I will open it up. I will add everyone in the specific channel, and you can just post your list in there, and I will get to it, prioritizing people who haven't had their list looked at in the last 2 streams. So everyone gets a chance at having their list fixed. Have a wonderful weekend, Matthew. You as well. Hope you're all going to have a great weekend. I am off to spend some time on a canal boat with my family for Mother's Day, which is going to be lovely. Really looking forward to that. It's the most middle class thing that I think I'll have done in the last 5 years. But yeah, should be fantastic. Have a good